On today's episode, we're going to talk about religion and kids and religion, not necessarily together. Welcome to the episode.
Yeah.
That is the most groovy shit in the entire world, man.
If anyone's wondering, that's Yours Truly by Saul, S-O-L.
Man, that just listening to that vibe, man, immediately, I don't care what mood I'm in, I feel like I'm jogging down the street and it's just like birds following me. I don't know why the fuck the birds follow him. You know, Evan Almighty, when the animals just followed him.
Yeah.
There's just a fucking ray of sunshine behind me. That song is so fucking groovy, dude.
Yeah, man. He's got a lot of good shit.
Yeah, man. I don't listen to that much music
Anymore. Yeah.
You know, as we talked about.
Got to do research for the podcast.
Dude, it's consuming.
And listen to podcasts.
So all I do is like I'll get in the car and I'll have like this mindset of like, all right, there's so much new music that's come out that I gotta listen to, that I want to vibe to, and then I'll accidentally.
There's too much.
I'll just be like, let me listen to the rest of this podcast real quick. 2 hours gone by.
Yeah, and then you're done.
And it's like, all right, now I'm too tired to listen to music or whatever. And then now I got to catch up. Like that new 21 album is so dope.
Yep,
but
took a long time to hear it after it came out.
Took me.
Although it's only been a couple days. I mean, you just can't listen to it the day it comes out. You got other stuff.
I just can't.
I got stuff lined up to play.
Yeah,
that's not music. Unfortunately, it used to always be music. It was only music.
Not almost.
Every
100%.
Friday, checking what came out.
Yeah.
And now I'm like weeks, if not months behind.
Dude, and I never thought I'd truly see myself in a place where I would not. Of course, I care about music, but where it was so low on the priority list, where I'm more interested in, listening to some political stuff, to some philosophical stuff.
Exactly.
These long
expanding your mind.
Yeah, man.
Because it's like music expands your mind in a way, but it's almost more so like it blocks out everything else, so you're on it in a whole different place. So it's not necessarily expanding. It's more numbing the outside pains, I guess, or stresses of life. I do it. I mean, same thing during like working out. I use it during that to kind of like. It almost hypes you up or calms you down in the situation, whatever you prefer,
I couldn't agree more. It's especially when I'm listening to somebody like Cole, somebody who's real lyrical, who has like bars, man, and it's really deep. It's tough for me I just zone out. I don't think about really philosophical ideas or come to these grand conclusions.
Yeah.
I'm just like, damn, listen to what he's saying. Which is great. I love that.
Yeah.
I love zoning out like that, but it doesn't really leave room for free thinking. Somebody's thinking my thoughts for me, where you can make the argument that in a podcast that same thing is happening, but my mind has a way of going off in tangents about what somebody is saying when they're just speaking regularly than when somebody is rapping.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because of the speed.
Yeah. It goes from one idea to the next. Well, kind of like our podcast, But
with a rapping,
it
podcast.
does. Yeah, but it's hard because it goes from one idea to the next. So you're thinking one thing, you're like, oh, that lyric was good. Oh shit, that lyric was really good.
Yeah.
And then with podcasts, you kind of have to go off in your tangent and think about like, do I disagree? Do I agree?
Yes.
I mean, am I thinking a completely different way now just because of new information that I'm getting?
I was having this conversation with my girlfriend the other day. The reason she gets really frustrated with me is because when I talk, I repeat myself a lot.
Okay.
And the reason I do that is because I think by speaking. That's how I hash out a lot of my ideas.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and she thinks I'm being repetitive to patronize her.
I was watching one of my bosses do that today in a meeting. Just like repeat, like you could tell he didn't know what he was gonna say next. He was just kind of like going with it, and it was just like, all right, man, come on, get to the point. You came in late,
right?
Like, this is my meeting. Let's go. Come on.
But for me, I don't do it because I don't have anything else to say. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Or I'm trying to be patronizing and demean somebody's intelligence. For me, I repeat things over and over to help myself better understand it. So I say it one way, and as I hear it come out of my mouth and I'm saying it to another person, I'm like, okay, I almost meant that, but not quite.
Yeah.
So let me say it again, and let me use these different
Different
words.
Yeah.
And then I'll say it again, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm closer. And then I'll say it again, and I'll change the words up a little bit.
I got it.
And then I'm like, as soon as I hear it come out, I'm like, however you felt by those words I just said is exactly how I meant you to feel. And what happens when you're listening to long form podcasts, a lot of the people you're listening to are repeating the same ideas over and over, but they're doing the same thing. They're thinking out loud.
Yeah.
And they're going through, and it's great
It's
following
not like,
that.
I mean, we're not experts, as we've said. We're not we have jobs. We're not studying this all the time.
No.
This is spare time that we're doing this,
If
for the benefit of you all.
If somebody called me an expert or told me that I was smart, I'd be truly offended. Because I'd be like, you are straight disrespecting smart people. I'm not smart. I'm a
generalist.
Dude.
I'm a professional amateur at this shit.
Facts. I can't even say I know a little about a lot, because I don't.
I know a little about a lot.
I don't.
I feel like I do know a little about a whole lot of shit. Like, if you just had to sit down in a room and write down what you know, blank room. I mean, let's say, hey, I mean, where else would this happen? Either prison or a mental institution. Say you're or fucking end of the world. I don't fucking know. But you have to write down everything you just know. What do you write down first? What do you write down first?
Ooh, I would immediately go to self awareness. That one thing. There's only one thing
that you know about yourself,
or the idea that the best way to operate in life is to be self-analytical. That's the only concept that I'm 99% sure of. Gotcha. The only concept in this world where I have a definitive grasp on is like, if you are able to look internally, that is the best way to navigate life.
But I'm saying just in terms of like facts that you know.
Oh, okay.
Because people are
full
of useless facts.
Okay.
I mean, not useless. They're useless until you're in the right conversation.
Yeah.
So you're just preparing yourself for conversations you've yet to have or already had and you weren't prepared for.
Yes.
So I don't know. Say like, math equations of some sort.
Yeah.
I would probably start with those just because I don't know very many. So it would be a quick starting and then end. I don't know. I know facts. I feel like I know facts about Komodo dragons. Somewhat, because I studied them in my spare time for no reason.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, all right.
I'm not gonna say them right now, but I have them. But I don't know. Yeah, it would be hard. It would be hard because like we're not experts in anything. If you're in like, I mean, we're both in sales really, so it's. I mean, you know how to tell people what they want to hear.
That's it.
That's why we're doing this.
And I studied economics, and if you told me to write down everything I knew about economics, that would be a hard 2 pages, bro.
See, I have a degree in communications, so
you ain't writing shit.
Bullshit is what I have a degree in.
You either writing nothing or a whole lot of bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know how to speak in a clear manner. Hopefully,
yeah, you do.
Hopefully,
you do. Which somewhat. I think which is why this podcast works. We're both good at articulating our thoughts in a somewhat reasonable manner. Somewhat. I'm being very liberal there, right?
If I have one more beer, I won't be able to. But here we go.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, because I understand that, thinking a lot. So a lot of the times we do our thinking on our own, right? We're just in our own heads.
Yeah.
And we don't realize how important sharing those ideas with another human being is, because that's the only way you can get a fair barometer on whether you're thinking something truly fucking insane, right?
I guess,
right?
Yeah.
Because if you're just thinking those thoughts in your own head and you are judging your own thoughts, you have you have your past and what people have thought was crazy before or thought was okay in the past.
Yeah.
But that is not necessarily relevant in the present moment,
not
right?
At all.
So you need to be able to bounce your ideas off of people for somebody to be like, Ray, that is fucking insane. You need to revise that.
I mean, that's almost like what comedians do when they do smaller shows and to people that they're trying to out material on, kind of. And then if they get offended at the material, like, oh, well, I might not use that anymore. Or that's exactly what I wanted. Maybe that's what Louis is doing right now. Who knows? I just saw
That's
Janine
my guy.
Garofalo. I feel like she's a comic.
Remind me who that
She's
is.
a female comic, I think.
Could you say something that I would know her from?
No.
Okay.
She has glasses. She's a white lady, I think. I don't
Every,
want to be misquoted.
everybody.
She looks like a white lady. What?
Everybody? You mean every white woman?
Yes, that's what she looks like. Yeah,
She looks like every white woman.
Middle aged. You can picture her. Dark hair.
Yeah, I know exactly what
So,
she looks like.
She
and I don't
she
know
like
what
came to
looks
his
like.
defense on some podcast that I
Good.
don't know the name of
Good.
because it's not relevant. But
Good.
yeah, she was just like, like he's been through a lot. Like think about his daughters and the things they have to hear about him, and kind of defended him in a way that I don't think many women have recently. So, and it's just I don't know. That's I guess it was cool to see that. But what I'm saying is like with Louis and with other people that like comics or people that say things to get a reaction, it's like they're testing it out. We got to see if that's okay still. Because it used to be okay to say a lot of crazy shit, and now it's not.
And if comedians aren't the ones who are testing those waters and pushing those boundaries and offending, and comedians,
Nobody else can.
who else is going to do it? And comedians
Definitely
don't
not
say
athletes. You can as an athlete, you can't
kidding
do
me?
it.
Right.
You better stick to playing sports.
You better shut your mouth, boy. Run that goddamn football. You hear me, boy? Boy.
That's a good voice. That's pretty good.
That's
I know exactly what he looks like.
But no, I appreciate especially a woman coming out in defense of him, because the hardest thing is coming out in support of somebody that everybody is saying is the antithesis of what you should stand for. As a woman, you should never support somebody who's been accused of X, Y, and Z. But it's like, if you can see somebody's humanity, like take for example, this is gonna go off on a little bit of a tangent, but we'll get back to the point.
There we go.
It's when like say somebody was racist, right?
Okay.
And then as to whatever race, say they were racist towards Indian, Chinese, black, whatever. All right, let's go with black for now, right? And then you find out that the reason that they hate black people is because when they were young, they were molested by two black people. When they were young, on their way home, they got assaulted and beat to within their life by a black person. And I'm not saying this is prototypical of any racist out there. I'm not making any excuse nor justification whatsoever. You can switch the races around. It just doesn't have to be black, white. It's just an easy one to call to mind, right? But if the person told you like, hey, this is why, you wouldn't say, okay, you wouldn't be like, oh, that justifies your racism, but you would say, oh, you're a human being.
Yeah, you would just say that your mind goes into a panic somewhat because of past events that have happened to you, maybe when you see someone of that race, and it's something you have to work past and realize that is wrong. But a lot of people can't help what their brain does to them in those situations. So the being scared of other races, that's, some people can't necessarily help it based on, like you said, past experiences.
Right. Like take for example, if I was molested by a priest or something, which unfortunately has happened to a lot of individuals out there. If they forever went forward, I know, right? That's a whole different.
Okay, I don't mean to laugh. I'm laughing because specifically
we
in
said
the intro we weren't going to talk about the religion and kids together, but I guess we are. So here we go.
Okay, no, let me.
No.
Okay, we'll go that way. But it's a very, very brief example to illustrate that if that person went on in the rest of their life to be fearful of priests, and then if somebody said, hey, why are you fearful of priests, they gave that explanation, you'd be like, oh. But something happens when it's like women scared of men scared of women, white scared of black, whatever. Then when race and gender come into the mix, it's like we almost disregard the humanity of people.
Yeah.
Right. And how that certain traumatic events can skew somebody's perception towards another gender, race, religion, whatever it may be. And if we did a better job of humanizing people, I think we could see each other's points better.
Yeah, that was something I literally wrote down. It was yesterday or today. I was listening to something, I forget what it is, but why don't we trust each other anymore as humans? Like, bad shit happens, but I don't know if it happens on a larger. I don't have facts for this, but I don't know if it happens on a larger scale than it used to, just in terms of murder, rape, assault, that type of thing. But why does it seem like people are more distant from one another now, and we don't I mean, know our neighbors. You know, we can't talk about racial, sexual, any of those subjects. You just can't really touch on them. I mean, there's a reason we talked about like that at work. There's no point in getting close to people because it's like I don't have the time to feel someone out and their fucking views because everything's so fucking sensitive right now. It's like I already got people that I can talk to about this, so I'm gonna just keep those.
I'm just gonna stick to the people who I know. I may speak to a white guy and I may have some certain views and he's not gonna take it. I may speak to a woman friend and I'll say certain things about women and she's not gonna take it to that extent. And it's like, okay, I can have conversations with these people and they're going to be reasonable.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to stick inside that bubble. And then we start confirming each other's biases and opinions. And before you know it, it's just a confirmation cycle where nobody's being challenged from the outside. And then when you finally do get challenged from the outside, when for fucking years people have just been like, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right. And then somebody you come to and somebody smacks you in the head with, nah, bro, I don't think that way, and I think that way is wrong, and it's stupid, and you're just like, it just immediately offends you.
Yeah, and you probably respond in a not a factual way, but more of a emotional, like insulting type way.
People need to be challenged more. Like, so, I think what we do is we play the pain Olympics or the victim Olympics in the sense that we try to say, oh, because I'm black and I felt this pain, that my pain is somehow more than your pain. So let's say me and you, God forbid this ever happens. Let's say me and you lost a child because because my child would be black, my pain is more because I lost a black child.
Get what you're saying.
Do you see what I'm saying? Where we no longer can say
we
humans. Both lost a child.
Yeah.
The pain we're feeling is identical. It is the worst feeling most people will ever have to deal with in their life.
I would say
instead of seeing it from that, we're like, no. Oh, your child was 12. My child was 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, your child was white. My child was a black male or a black woman. And we just keep trying to. And then people. And when you try to diminish somebody's pain, oh man, people. I mean, just think about it. If you felt some way and you try to voice your feelings to somebody, and they was like, "Oh, that doesn't matter because my pain," you'd be like, "Fuck you, man."
And that I mean, it has to do with social media. I mean, there has to be some correlation there that the pain Olympics, as you call them, that people are trying to outdo one another. It's like who can get the most likes, because putting that like button on whatever love I like this, it makes it into a competition. Yeah, I mean, it's great to let someone know that you like what they're doing if it's a reasonable thing to like, but people are now just kind of fishing for them. Like I remember getting off of Facebook because there was times where people were just like complaining about what was wrong in their life, and it's like, man, I'm not necessarily on here to be brought down by what's going on in your life. Like I'm not. Also, how do you hit the like button? I always thought that was weird.
My father died.
How do you
like?
Yeah.
What?
I approve that message.
What?
Yeah, what the fuck?
What?
Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah, that's why I got out of there, man. And we have a Twitter for the show or whatever, but that's
the only reason.
That's all we got. That's all we got.
And
this is our social media.
This
right
is
here.
it.
So.
This is it. I talked to a young woman today who gave me some insight into the life of an attractive 24-year-old woman with social media, and it sounded so exhausting, so miserable.
I bet.
She told me about how it takes her 24 hours just to post one picture, and in order to post that picture, she has to run it by 5 people. 5 people that she trusts to take their time and like
why
dig through it.
Is she like a professional?
I mean, like, take for example the last post that she showed me. It had something like 1,000 comments. That was just the comments, right? So she's that level, right?
Yeah. I don't even get on there anymore. So that seems very high to me.
That's a lot.
I've had like 5 comments.
Yes, she's an attractive young woman. She's an attractive young woman.
Okay,
I'll give her that. But the process she was telling me that she had to go through, 5 people had to approve it. 5 people that she trusted to decipher it, take their time and dig, like fine tooth comb it and go through it.
Yeah, why do you give a fuck?
And 24 hours
why
to post
do you give a fuck?
one picture. And I just asked her, I said, does that not have a significant drain on you
Yeah, that's a
emotionally and
toll for sure.
psychologically? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, then why do you put yourself through it? And she's like, well, I just like to post pictures.
How
And
old
this
is
is,
she?
she's 24.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and swing into our first topic. We're gonna pivot and go into kids.
Let's do that.
Let's go into kids.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've listened to and read some of the same things recently about just social media in general in terms of how it's kind of crippled a whole generation. And was it Generation Z? Is that what it's called?
Dude, I have no idea.
I think that's what's
man.
called. It's technically after.
Millennials. It's
Yeah.
after millennials. It's
So
the one right
it's
after millennials.
95 and on, right?
Yes.
1995 and on. Because we're
And I think that's
technically in the
Z.
millennials.
Yes.
Even though I feel old as shit for a millennial.
I can't relate to them.
That word just sounds young.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I can't
So
relate to them.
the 24-year-olds, they or this 24-year-old you were talking to, she grew up in, yeah. Oh, what is it? 2018. Let's do some quick math. Let's all right.
Don't put me on the spot.
20. That's 1998.
Yeah.
And then minus 4 is 94. So
Yeah.
technically she was born right before. But
Yeah.
fuck that.
But close enough.
Stats. Yeah,
Close
but there's a study that says the guy on the podcast said the study, but I
Jonathan
forget.
Haidt.
Yeah, Jonathan Knight. There you go. About kids that from that age on they grew up they had social media in middle school, and it completely reshaped them as a generation. I mean, at least the ones that had it, which was probably fucking every one of them. Because I remember not having Facebook until you had to have a college email address to sign up.
Yeah.
When it first came out,
Mhm.
and I was graduating high school in 2006, and that's when they I could sign up for it with my .edu email address, and it was cool then. It was just people from college,
Yep.
and then it became mostly children. I feel like you could get on, you could figure out a way. I mean, kids are fucking smart. You're gonna get on. I mean, it's crazy that they, kids in a generation younger than us grew up with so much fucking technology, like robots and shit. Like the Jetsons were what I fucking saw when I was a kid. They had robots, but we didn't have robots.
And it looked so unattainable.
Yes.
Remember?
We still don't have fucking any of that, half that shit.
No.
Like
But it looks more realistic.
they
now.
lived in the sky in that show. What the fuck? Where did they live? Everyone was in the sky. You never saw grass anywhere. There's no ground in that whole show.
It's just like, what are you walking on, cuz? You just floating?
But these kids grew up with social media, and it's shaped. One thing I noticed was like what it made me think about was being bullied myself in like elementary school, and it ended up being one of my best friends like after a while, and he bullied me. I remember talking to my dad about it and being like, this dude's picking on me, like all this shit. He was just like, just stand up for yourself, like do that. Yeah. And then it like after that I became fucking great friends with this guy, and ends up being one of my best friends all through high school. Played baseball with him and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like you had to have that conflict in order to evolve as a person. But now it's like maybe they don't say shit to each other at school, but they're like comment on their photo like, what are those? Like his shoes. It's like, what the fuck is this kid wearing? Like they're just you can't get away from it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you in the middle of the night you are getting comments about shit, and you're just trying to make it through your school day and learn regular shit as a kid and be a kid.
I mean, I couldn't have said it better. You don't learn the interpersonal. Oh no, well, but I couldn't. The idea is exactly what what I was alluding to. But I definitely understand what you're saying in terms of that interpersonal conflict resolution has completely disappeared.
Yeah.
So instead of people don't have the tools to say me and you, and we have many disagreements. When we disagree, we hash it out right here because there's body language, there's tone, there's just a lot of cues.
So many things have been misconstrued over text.
Oh my God,
so
man.
many people, and it's just
it's every day.
That we grew up with texting was. I mean, I remember. I think that became a thing when I was in high school. That makes me feel old.
Yeah,
but it. I don't know. I remember when that happened. It was just like, oh shit, you got to type something to make them know how you feel.
Yep.
Because if you don't, some people, mostly women, will take it in a way that will get you in trouble.
Yes.
But other times you just like, you're sending a LOL or some shit like that.
Yeah.
It's just It's just odd.
Yeah, no, I feel bad for kids of that generation because I think some of those tools that I learned through getting picked on, through having to stand up for myself, through getting into a ton of fights, I those shaped me into becoming a well-rounded individual. Where in the moment you may have one looking from the outside, I'm sure my parents or friends or whatever, aunts and uncles would have looked at that and like, I wish I could keep that person from going through that. But I'm like, if you did, I would hate you for the rest of my life because you would have stunted my growth.
Yeah, yeah.
I needed to go through all of that in the way that I went through it to become a well-rounded individual.
Yep.
To understand when I go somewhere and somebody steps on my shoes, it's a fucking accident, man. It's an accident. Oh, you said you're sorry? Cool. I mean, that's it. Or if I get into a heated debate with a friend, a coworker, we can actually there's conflict resolution. I can see like I can read their face, their cues where now a younger kid somebody says something snarky in class, and instead of them handling that right there, what's the first what are they gonna do? Flip open their phone, go straight to one of their most recent posts, be like fuck this bitch, and it's like, bruh, really, really, and I'm like, there has to be something done to quell the amount of technology within young people's lives.
Oh yeah,
There
yeah.
has
I've
to be
I've thought
something
about
done.
that. If I had a child, I feel like, I mean, there was a it wasn't a rule in my house because there didn't need to be a rule
Yeah,
because phones
it
weren't a
wasn't
thing.
pervasive enough.
But I got a phone when I was 16 years old, and that's because I was able to drive then and go other places, and my parents wanted to be able to keep track of me, I guess. And that was like the phone just made phone calls.
Yeah,
There was no
that
texting
was it.
then. It just that was it. And so I I mean that was all I had and
That
was
was the
16
extent.
years old. And now people, I mean, I know I have cousins that have kids that already have phones and they're like 5, 6,
Yep,
7 years old.
yep.
It's crazy. I don't get it. What do they need to see? They don't. They need to interact, play, fucking go outside, do that shit. We
There
used to dig in the dirt in my backyard, me and my brother.
and it was fun.
That's all we did. My mom was like, "You ain't coming in till it goes down." And then if we had to go in and like, use a bathroom or something, I remember her specific saying, and I forget what comedian it was. You're not going to be running in and out of the house all the time. That's what she constantly said. She would yell at us all the time, like, "You're not going to be running in and out of this house." She's like, I'm not. I just got to run in, piss, and then get out, or whatever I
Yeah,
had to do.
yeah.
But yeah, it was. That's all we did back then.
And it and again, so I I would be very interested to see, as you said, with the whole crime and violence, to see whether the statistics of child abduction and tragic things happen to kids has skyrocketed or anything like that. But as far as I know, the research that has been done indicates that there has been no you to here's a stat. In order here's something to depict the likelihood of your child getting abducted when you walk into a grocery store. You'd have to sit there for what is it, 70,000? That child would have to sit in that car for 700,000 hours
Yeah, yeah.
before it got it up before that one in something chance happened.
What was the guy's name?
Jonathan Haidt.
Jonathan Haidt.
Yeah.
Yeah. The statistic was that I think it's something around 100 kids a year
Hmm.
get abducted in the United States.
And look at our
That's it.
population.
And that's it. It's just 100. And it's like, yes, that's awful
It's
for those kids.
I'm not trying to marginalize
But
that at all.
the it's almost like the social media. Is it because you have more access to kids' lives that they're deemed more in danger, so they are now not allowed to just be out running around neighborhoods and riding their bikes and shit? They got to be with a parent. They can't just. I don't remember when it was, but we were really young when my sister was watching me at home when my parents weren't there,
Right.
and it was fine.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
the house didn't burn down. We
Yeah.
didn't die.
It was fine.
I'm sure that happens sometimes, but
Yeah.
it's like
It's not enough.
it's a numbers game.
We have this way in America of creating a environment that is catered to the few against the wishes of the many. So we start tailoring our behaviors because of a few incidents, and they end up shaping our entire culture. And I think when there were a few times where abduction cases abduction cases made world headlines,
There's
and
one
then
today. Literally
yeah,
got resolved today. Did you hear about it?
yeah, yeah, the girl that got found alive, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but did you hear the whole story about
no,
her?
mm-mm,
Just real quick while we're on kids.
mm,
I just read it earlier. The 21-year-old guy that he was 21 that kidnapped her. She's what 12 or
wow,
13,
uh-huh.
and it's like, what the fuck?
What
He's
are
a
you doing,
kid
bro?
almost. He hasn't had a job forever,
Oh,
but this man he shot open the door of her house with a shotgun
yeah,
and then killed both of her parents
yo,
and then kidnapped her. And she's been gone for like 70 some days. I think it was.
damn,
Yeah, and it's like
that's
holy
intense.
shit. And then
Yeah,
she got out somehow,
yeah,
ran and found somebody and
yeah,
was like, "Let's get the fuck out of here."
damn.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That also talks about what we spoke to last time about young men without jobs. It's dangerous.
And maybe he saw some shit on social media and
Yeah.
that's why he was, kidnapping young girls, but it's just like it happens. Obviously people get kidnapped, but at the same time it's like we're so protective of our
Hmm.
kid, overprotective of
Oh,
kids now. They just can't do what they used to do. When we grew up, you were allowed to do kind of whatever you wanted
right.
as a kid, as long as you came
Yeah.
back alive, you
Yeah.
were good.
Yeah. And I mean, I grew up in quite a few neighborhoods, played with many kids, and yeah, a kid might get hit in the head with a rock
Oh,
here and there.
yep, yep.
Somebody might hit a fucking
Shout out to Jordan Martin if he's listening.
right.
Hit me in the back of the head during the rock fight.
Yeah.
Why the fuck we were having a rock fighting on it, and nobody knows. But
We had a lot of those. Somebody might be driving down some dirt bike path, hit a thing, and like scrape their whole body down, and severe injuries. But you know
don't
what
tell my mom.
I mean?
This shit hurts. I need a skin graft. Don't tell my mom.
Right? And like
She'll rub off the other side.
and it's like a lot of that stuff happened. But I mean, I never. Okay, I had a childhood friend die because they were shot after a fight, right? But
Yeah.
that was different. That was we kind of went asking. Well, they kind of went asking for that. It was a very unfortunate situation. May he rest in peace. But that was an oddity where I was living. Like
Yeah.
people losing their lives or something like them being abducted by a stranger or crazy things like that never happened.
Yeah.
Never.
No, I don't remember much of that in my hometown either.
I never heard of a friend of mine or a friend of a friend or anything like that getting abducted or something close to
I
that.
think it's from what he was saying, it's not. I don't know if the numbers have gone up or down. That's something we can look up right now.
Let's do it.
But yeah, I mean, he was. Say his name again.
Jonathan Haidt.
There you go. He was talking about, the different numbers abducted each year, and it's. I guess it doesn't necessarily change.
Yeah, and it's so we're stifling our kids in a way that's, I think, making them more anxious. More, I mean, again,
Oh God,
more.
hold on.
We've spoken about this as well.
I saw that. I just typed in
Oh
how many
man,
kids,
how
and
many kids does R. Kelly have?
I
As the
saw
first
that.
search
That was
result.
the first- Why is that the first Google result?
I don't think when they say have, I think they mean it in a very different sense than you're
Oh, he's in the news for that right now.
thinking. Yes, he is. That's unfortunate.
Oh, yeah, his numbers didn't include by family members.
Mm.
Remember, that was only by
Strangers.
strangers.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it called? Is it kidnapping when you get kidnapped by a family member?
So I know you're bringing up CNN, bro. I got my reservations.
Yeah.
about
We don't have to,
CNN.
but this does kind of
Okay.
right around where he said.
Yep.
Just 115 children
Incidents.
are victims of what most people think of as a stereotypical kidnapping, which the center characterized thusly. These crimes involve someone the child does not know or someone of a slight acquaintance who holds the child overnight, transports the child 50 miles or more, kills the child, demands ransom, or intends to keep the child permanently.
And then hold on before you exit out. It says of these 115 incidents, 57% ended with the return of the child. The other 43% had a less happy outcome. Now, obviously, we can assume what the less happy outcome means, but I mean, 57% means majority of the children are either found or, the case has ended not tragically.
Yeah, but what it cites is actually the citation from the CNN page is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
Mm-hmm.
citing which cites the U.S. Department of Justice reports.
Okay.
So I mean, we can go to other. I like CNN. They have good headlines.
Yeah.
Oh look, CNN missing children fast facts. Creditdonkey.com. You want to do that one?
No. I'll go with Seaman. We
There
can
we
do
go.
the 5 myths about missing children by the Washington Post.
Yeah.
Most children have been abducted by strangers. That's a myth.
Yeah, exactly, because it's mostly family members.
Just
as we
like
said.
just like most people who commit homicides, or it's somebody you know.
Yeah.
It kind of follows that same logic.
Be nice.
Yeah.
Be nice to people you know. Say, give them a candy bar. It says, but children taken by strangers or slight acquaintances represents only 1/100% of all missing children. The last comprehensive study estimated there were a number was 115 in a year.
So basically what that goes to say is more than worrying about all these other people that you don't know and that don't know your kid.
Watch the people you know.
Yo,
watch your family.
Hide your wife, hide your kids. You know what I'm saying? Like pay closer.
Be somebody you know.
Instead of looking again, it gets
somebody in your family.
Right. It kind of touches what we were speaking of earlier, where I was like, look internally instead of externally. It's like look internally within your own home first, before you start blaming the world outside. Because chances are, this proves that if something happens to you or your children, it's gonna be by somebody you know, probably really well, which is unfortunate.
It says this says that fewer and fewer kids are going missing every year. Maybe that is, social media.
And it also points out, it says, why are fewer kids missing? Cell phones are almost certainly part of the explanation. When a friend of my son skied off a trail into the Maine wilderness near nightfall last winter, a cell phone call got the ski patrol to the right spot and short-circuited what could have been a lengthy search and possibly a fatality.
Well, this is going directly against. Exactly. Keep reading.
Cell phones allow children to summon help and get out of threatening situations.
It's going directly against what you were just saying.
Yeah, I mean,
get your kid a phone right now. Fuck, sorry about that.
No, you're good. And
get your kid a phone.
And again,
when they're one,
we're not arguing against kids having phones. We're targeting something specific here.
Yeah, more
we're
social
targeting
media.
social media.
Yeah. Because a phone is fine.
I think we have to do our due diligence to be very careful in our wording, because when there's this, I fall victim to this a lot, where I just criticize technology and I place this large umbrella over, and technology means so many different things, right? If you make some contraption that cleans water, that's technology, right? Even though there's no motherboard, right?
Yep.
So we have to be very cautious and say what we're criticizing is social media, because technology on the whole has been very good for civilization. As we alluded to, the World Health Organization says within the next 30 years, because of technology, we might get every living soul out of extreme poverty.
That would be amazing.
Which would be freaking phenomenal, right? And that is due in large part to technology. So I don't ever want to make the case or seem like I'm making the case against, like, let's go back to the Stone Ages, because I don't want to, nor do I know anybody who truly wants to do that. And yes, a kid having a cell phone is a good thing, because you can contact them when they're away from you. But that phone should only have 2 options on it: call and text, and it should only have access to like 3 numbers: mom, dad, brother.
Definitely location service.
And location service, of course.
But I posted this the other day on our Twitter. Actually, it was an article from Fox 31 in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to them. I don't know them, but yeah. Dad makes app that can lock kids' phone until they reply to you.
I like that.
Yeah, and it's called Reply ASAP. It's been downloaded a shit ton of times, I guess. But yeah, you have to. It's developed by a dad who wanted to make sure other parents never had to worry while their texts go ignored, because that's what kids do.
That's a little hawkish.
Yeah,
that's a little much.
Yeah, that's what I wrote in the Twitter post for the helicopter parents of 21st century.
Little much, man.
You know what that is, helicopter parent?
Yes, I know.
Like constantly.
Yes.
Above.
Yes.
It's downloaded more than 75,000 times since it was launched back in August 2017.
See, something with a good idea that's going to have very negative consequences. Because that's a good concept.
Track my kid.
I get it, but that's good for the chill parents. That is a perfect app for the chill parent who's going to be like, damn, where did she tell me she was gonna go again? I genuinely forgot. Hey, whatever, text me where you are. I forgot the name, lost the address, lost the phone number. I just need that. For that parent who's going to send that one text, you text him or her back, and they're done for the night once you've given them that information. That app is perfect for that type of parent. But for the parent who I think is probably going to be the majority of the ones that download it, who wants to know what you're doing every 5 to 10 minutes, that is going to be a nightmare for some kids, and that's going to be really unfortunate.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it all depends on how they're raised too. The parents themselves, what they
Oh, of course.
decide to give into,
Yeah.
if they're giving into the social media, if they're not disciplining the kids. I mean, I don't have kids. You don't have kids. It's
No.
like, why the fuck? I can't tell anybody how to discipline their own kids, but it's.
I don't think that. You know what? No. Yeah, you can.
I mean, I
Because
could give them ideas as what I think is right for a human being.
you don't have kids, but you were a kid.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
very true. I had a lot of experience.
It's like it's hard for us to step in a woman's shoes, right?
and that's
Because
that's
we've never been women.
yeah.
But like a kid, you've been a kid.
That's
You can.
that's a very good point. Yeah,
You know?
because that's how you parent when you're a parent. Normally, is you kind of look at how you were treated as a kid, and well, it all depends. I mean, you can be conscious of that, or you can be unconscious of that, and a lot of people that are unconscious of that end up being good or bad parents just based on how their parents were to
Yep.
them. But if you're conscious of just trying to evolve as a parent and a person, I think that you can be a good parent because you were a kid and you saw mistakes
Yep.
that your parents made, and maybe try to fix them, or you saw your parents being themselves over
Yeah.
Christmas, and you were like, oh shit, yeah, I'm not gonna do this
Yeah.
to my kids.
Yeah. It's just again, it gets back to self awareness, but yeah, no, that's one of those things where we do ourselves a disservice. Like, oh, I ain't gonna tell nobody how to parent their kids because I don't have kids. Nah, bruh. I was a kid.
Yeah.
I had parents. I am aware of the do's and don'ts.
Yeah, it's
goddammit.
funny because the argument always is do you have kids?
Yeah.
Oh well, okay.
Oh, so
Like,
I was just born an adult.
oh you don't
just
oh you
popped
don't
out
have
my mom?
kids? All right, well then I don't need your opinion on this.
Like, word?
It's like,
Say word.
man, I was a kid for like fucking 17 years, right? Or 25,
I'm-
however long you deem me a kid.
I'm 29. I've been a kid for 28 years, bro.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
yeah,
go
yeah,
pretty high.
Or 29 years.
I'm gonna go pretty fucking high, dude. But I hope, against all hopes, that parents realize what this extreme controlling and monitoring of their kids is doing to their kids, the negative psychological impact it's having on them. I'm truly hoping that parents start to realize this and break the trend, that they are an equal part of this as is social media. To when I think back to my childhood, right? That when I go, that's a great headline. That's a great headline. When we'll get to it after I finish.
Yeah,
this
go
one.
ahead.
But when I think about my childhood, and I think to the person I am today, I ask myself if my parents hadn't given me the autonomy to go out, and we've taught you well enough. We gave you all the foundations. You can talk to strangers, just don't get in their cars. Don't go away with them. It's fine to talk to strangers. Don't
Yeah.
just don't walk away with them. And it's like we imparted unto you all the faculties you need to be an independent being. Now go into the world and try to figure it out to the best of your abilities.
Yeah, but that's I think the argument to come back on that was
Sure.
The adults know how to manipulate people.
Yeah, they
And
do.
kids have no idea what manipulation is most of the time. So
I don't
sending them
know,
out
man.
there is
Have you ever tried to kidnap a little black kid?
no, I haven't.
Oh,
I have
well,
not.
yeah, okay.
For the record, I have not.
Okay.
If anyone listens to this, I have not done
have
that.
you? Okay, let me rephrase that question. Have you tried to pull one over on a little kid? Not even a little black kid. I was being a little
Yeah,
facetious.
no, yeah.
But
I
you
get what
know
you're saying.
how hard it
yeah,
is
sometimes they're smart.
to finesse a kid, like smart kids. I mean, let's just put it that way. If you are a good parent and you have a smart child and you teach the smart child the right things, they are capable.
Yeah. Most
Have
of the time.
faith.
Yeah, I feel like I was that when I was a
You
kid.
know what I'm saying?
We were just out there running around and shit until street lights or
Yeah.
the dark fireflies is mostly because I was more so in the country. But till Fireflies. Basically, we were out, and it was like, oh shit, we gotta go.
We didn't get here by sheer luck.
Yeah, I know.
There are times where I could have made the wrong decision. Many times I did,
Yeah.
but in the key moments where something in my brain went off, like, bruh, this is an important decision, I made the right decisions because
Yeah,
I
it's
was
crazy that
I was
I'm
raised
alive,
well.
Actually,
I think about that shit all the time.
There's a lot of times that could have gone south.
Well, a lot of times, bruh. A lot. And
Yeah.
and I think back to those moments and I'm like, what separated me and my brother from everyone else? A big thing, I had my dad in the household. Like, let's be forthright and honest about that. Having your both parents in the household is literally the starting point to a successful life.
Yeah.
If you do not have both parents in the household, the chances of you becoming a well-rounded, successful individual, they drop significantly. So let's start there. But not only did I have both parents in my house, my parents just taught me the right things.
Yeah.
They said, in this situation, a lot of your friends are gonna, or a lot of people are gonna tell you to do this. We've been there. Trust me, do it this way.
Yeah.
And in those key moments when I had to choose between the left fork or the right fork, I chose the right one.
Yeah.
And that's what got me here today. It wasn't just sheer luck. I made the right decisions at key moments and my brother did when others didn't. And it was because my parents gave me the freedom to make those choices.
Yeah, you gotta.
And it gave me confidence the next time I made that choice.
Yeah, because if you're not out there making mistakes, you don't know what's right and wrong.
Right.
And then you think everything is wrong. Mm-hmm. And a lot of kids, and not kids, but I mean, they are kids, people that are in their lower 20s, teens, whatever, that think so many things are offensive that are not offensive, or that are just truths, or that are, jokes, or, just people. Did you Nimish Patel, I think his name is?
The name sounds very familiar.
Joe Rogan's podcast. Did you listen to that one?
Chances are I did.
Okay, he's the Indian comic that was at Columbia at a stand-up show that the Asian American Alliance asked him to do a stand-up set.
Yes, and they said that under these parameters is how you have to do it.
No. He said a joke about it was something about if you're black, why would you choose? Being gay is not a choice, because I met a gay black man, and if you're black and have that hardship already, why would you double down on hardship? No one's just like, let me have another serving of this.
That's pretty good joke.
Exactly. And it's just like, that's how he was like, oh, well, that's how I know being gay is not a choice, because nobody would choose double hardship.
That's legit. I like that.
Yeah. And then after that, like, some people laughed, some people booed. Like, people were super upset about it. And I mean, I butchered the fuck out of what I just said, but when he said it, it was hilarious. I laughed while I was listening to him say it. And it was just like, they came out on stage after like 5-10 more minutes. 3 people from the club that invited him there came out on stage and said that there had been a change in programming, and like the tech had to leave or something, so he had to go.
Wow.
And he was just like on stage, just like he didn't know what to do. It was just kind of an odd thing, but it's just that generation, I'm kind of glad that, because I went to a liberal arts college, so I'm wondering what the fuck is going on at Christopher Newport University in Newport News, Virginia right now.
Sure,
probably some wild shit like this.
Sure, it's similar.
There were some professors I had that were really cool, but I bet they're getting in trouble for some bullshit now, just saying things that aren't offensive that people deem offensive.
Yeah. And the role, I just had this thought as you were speaking, as you alluded to some things that parents do. I think the role of a parent is to play the role is to emulate society and create an environment within the house that presents you with a lot of the challenges you're going to face in society, but provides you a safe area in which they can happen, where you can fall on your face and then they can take corrective measures. So your parent has to play the police officer, the teacher, the mean friend, the disciplinarian. Both your parents together, that as a team create all of these different things and then they also create an atmosphere in the house where you're gonna run into these challenges as well. So that when you do fall on your face and you say something stupid, or you get upset, you say the wrong thing, your parent disciplines you, because that's a scenario that you're going to run into the real world. So your parents purposely present you with these scenarios for you to, they want you to fail. So that way they can correct you in a
Yep.
safe environment.
Yeah, I mean that's and you have to. There's a fine line
Yeah,
because
of course.
you can't
Of
do it
course.
too much,
Of course.
and you have to let them go out and make their own. But
Yes.
at the same time, I mean, I'm sure that's what like fucking walking around and falling down when you're a baby
Yes.
is. You know, yeah, it's just like fucking let him. His head's good.
Yeah.
Just let him do it.
Loose ass neck.
Let him do it. My dad said specifically when my niece was born, I was holding her and nervous as fuck, and I haven't held her since. And it's just like, that's good. She's like 3 months old now.
Yeah.
And he was just like, oh, it's okay. You drop them. They're all right. And I was just like, what the fuck?
That explains so much of my life.
Yeah, I was like, you did that to us? Or like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not all right.
Yeah.
It's like later on
Yeah.
they might be, but right now they're
Yeah.
not.
Or like, have you ever, I love some parents. These are the type of parents I love, that I love the parent in the grocery store. I hate that lets their child figure things out on their own. Like, I hate the parent that coddles too much, and I hate the parent that is a complete jerk, right?
Yeah.
But I love the parent
Gotta be in
who,
between.
yeah, I love the parent who their child runs into like a low shelf or something. The child, because they know that this is supposed to make them feel pain, they automatically start crying, and the parent is patient. They don't freak out. They don't spaz. They just sit there. They wait. They watch. So they give the child they give the child enough room in between them to where you can't lean on me.
Yeah, if you overreact, they're gonna always want that.
Of course. And then the parent puts themselves at a safe distance to, like, I'm not easily accessible, but I'm close enough that you're in a safe enough environment. So figure this out. Are you really hurt right now? Are you really feeling pain?
Yeah.
And then you could see the kid working it out, like, am I dying? Am I really hurt?
Nah.
Nah. And then they just pop up and run to their parent, and then the parent keeps moving.
Yeah.
And I watch those type of parents. I'm like, that kid is gonna be a great, well-rounded kid.
Hey, if I have kids, I'm gonna reward them when they pop up like nothing happened. That's the only time. That's the only time when they're just like,
you want a cookie?
no, only if they pop up and they're like, look around, like, make sure nobody saw them. It's like, all right, cool. Now we give you praise. That's
now we
it.
give you brownie
Other
points.
than that, no.
Yeah.
I mean, that's funny as shit.
And I want, again, I know there's that perception that, what are two young men with no kids trying to tell? Again, we are kids.
We have been
kids
for a while.
We are new adults for the most part.
There was a movie like 2 years ago that made me think about raising kids, like how I would go about it, called Captain Fantastic. I know it's an odd name, but it was
way back.
Yeah, it was nominated for an Oscar, and what was his name? It was the dude that's in that movie where he's a racist this year. I forget what his name is, but the one with Mahershala Ali that's nominated for the Oscar, where he's like a piano player or something, or jazz musician, and his driver's a white guy.
Oh,
Viggo Mortensen is the driver. But he's
okay.
Anyways, he was
Okay,
the
let's go
guy
with
in Captain Fantastic.
Okay, the white guy.
He raised like his 4 or 5 kids in the woods, homeschooled them. They were smart as fuck. Like, they knew everything, read philosophy, read, new statistics and all this crazy trigonometry and shit.
Yeah.
But they were terrible at fucking interacting with people.
Of course.
They were awful at it. And it makes you think, like, what you're saying, where the parent is the buffer, what homeschooling people are thinking. Like, is it good? Is it bad? Like, it's good in a way.
Of course.
It might be bad in a way. And just like public schools may be good in a way and bad in another. So what do you got to, I guess you got to pay for private schools?
Of course, yeah.
Is that the best way to go about it?
Are fucking expensive. But I mean, I know for myself, if I hopefully I have this great career and I make a ton of money, and even if I could afford to send my kid to a private school, I would almost certainly just find the best public school and send them there, because I want them in an environment where they're gonna get teased. I want them in an environment, not excessively, of course.
I get what you're saying.
But I want them in an environment where they're gonna run into challenges.
So what if they were homeschooled, but they had, time where they went to daycare? As well.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
It was like an after school thing that they
somewhere
always
where
went
they
to.
were socialized in a structured environment.
Because I pulled this up while we were talking. Actually,
Okay.
Prove I can multitask.
Yeah, buddy.
This is just from the National Home Education Research Institute. That sounds like some cool,
That sounds
good,
wordy.
yeah, that sounds like a place that I can trust.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's facts about homeschool students, and there's 2.3 million homeschool students in the U.S.
Okay, that's good.
That's not that many.
It's
I
not a
don't feel
lot,
like,
but that's a good amount.
yeah, that's more than I thought it was.
Mhm.
But it also says that they don't obviously, homeschoolers don't have to necessarily the taxpayers don't pay for their education. So it says taxpayers spend an average of $11,000 basically per pupil annually in public schools plus capital expenditures. That's crazy.
I didn't know.
Taxpayers spend nothing on most homeschool students, and homeschool families spend an average of $600 per student annually for their education. That's probably like pencils and fucking erasers and
yes.
shit. That's all I can think of. That's the only school supplies that came to my head.
And apples.
Pencils and erasers. This is interesting, though. It does say a demographically, and this will get into our other topic later, but
of course,
a demographically wide variety of people homeschooled. These are, atheists, as well as Christians, Mormons, conservatives, libertarians, liberals, low, middle, and high-income families, black, Hispanic, white, parents with PhDs, GEDs, and no high school diplomas. One study shows that 32% of homeschool students are black, Asian, Hispanic, and others. Who are these others that they talk about?
They're not white or non.
Should we be offended by the word others?
you random motherfuckers.
But this is what I really wanted to get to was academic performance between homeschool kids and kids that go to public schools.
What's the difference?
Well, it says home educated typically score 15 to 30 percentile points above public school students on standardized tests.
You know what?
That's a huge difference.
Yeah, my immediate reaction to that would be the individualized focus, the fact that you can. What you say? What you see?
Literally, the next line says a 2015 study found black homeschool students to be scoring 23 to 42 percentile points above black public school students. But the citation is Ray 2015. I just saw that and I started laughing.
I probably did say some wild shit like that.
Did Ray write this fucking website? God damn it! This is not something we can cite. Forget what we said. Ray wrote this.
No, but obviously the first thing that jumps out to me about homeschool students scoring that high is just having something that tailored to them and that amount of focus. If you're a parent homeschooling kid,
you're 100% correct.
Yeah, you're focusing on one or two kids at once.
Yeah, it says it right here. Customize or individuals the curriculum and learning environment for each child, and then enhances family relationships. Oh wait, what is this? Provide safer environment because of physical violence. Oh my God.
Drugs, alcohol, psychological abuse, racism, and unhealthily sexually associated with institutions. God, Jesus, is this happening in school?
That's public schools?
Yeah. Wait, no,
sexuality associated with institutional schools. Oh. Unhealthy sexuality.
What would that be?
I guess I know what improper sexuality, but I don't.
Would unhealthy be just STDs?
I mean, I took what was that shit called? In like middle school where you had to take the sex education class.
Yeah, sex
ed. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Those classes were terrible.
Like gross.
Just like watch this video. This would be bad.
Are those too old?
And then they're like driver's ed, watch this video. It's gonna be bad. It's called Red Asphalt. Man, you kids out there haven't seen that shit. Check it out. You get to see brains.
Yeah, it'll
not
change
good.
It'll change how you text and drive. Trust me, it's not worth it. There's no text. Okay, here's a good question. Because it's easy to say that there's no text worth sending for a car accident. Let me flip it. Is there a text that exists that if you died sending it, it would be justified? Exactly.
No,
That's
I
my
got
whole
it.
point.
I got
Was
it.
it? Was
I
it?
already got it. Wait, are you saying that there isn't one?
No, I'm saying if there is a text that would justify, what is it?
Wait, how did we get on this?
I don't know, but
Okay.
we'll get back on our.
My what comes to mind for me is I was right. Or I told you so. Like some shit like that.
Okay.
It's just like I go
That's the
out
end
on
of the
that and I'm
argument.
like, fuck.
Can't say shit back.
Or some mystery shit.
Yeah.
Like, I hid my treasure and then
Dot, dot, dot.
and then dead. Just like, I don't know, some shit like that.
That'd be pretty savage, yo. That would fucking suck, dude.
This does say though that the back to the kids, the home educated are doing typically above average on measures of social, emotional, and psychological development because they have a lot of peer interaction outside the home, including like whatever the fuck 4-H's, scouting, field trips, church ministry. That's probably not great for kids, but
it's a little iffy.
Sports teams, yeah, because I mean, fuck, if you play sports, I mean, that's where I made most of my friends, I would say.
Likewise.
I mean, school, yes, but
Not most, all of my friends.
yeah, I mean, you get a lot closer I think you necessarily get closer with your sports team than your classmates.
I agree.
Because, I mean, your classmates kind of change every year. Your sports team does as well, but you end up playing with a lot of the same kids, whether they're on your team or not. You make that connection through playing the same sport.
I agree. So I guess what the conclusion they're drawing here is that since parents understand, like, I have to kind of force my kids into social interaction since they're not going to be doing what other kids normally would be doing right now, that they put them into a wide variety of activities and organizations so they get more exposure to other things than a normal kid would have. Like, so a normal kid will go to public schools and encounter all of these different cliques and social interactions, but then they might not encounter hiking or Boy Scouts, where this kid is homeschooled. Their parent is like, oh shit,
I'm more
I could put
well-rounded in that aspect, but not
Yeah.
in the mental ability to handle crazy situations with other people.
Right.
Or maybe even get in debates where you can stay civil.
Yes.
That's hard for a lot of fucking people. So
and I would also imagine that probably, even though they get to interact with people in these different settings, they probably are in a little bit more of a bubble than a kid in a public school. Here's my hypothesis: strictly because your parent is going to be skewed towards, if I'm a Mormon, I'm going to send them to this Mormon camping trip or this Mormon organization. So because you're making the decision for your kid, it is your decision. So you're going to probably skew them in that direction, where if I'm a Mormon kid going to a public high school, I don't know what Mormons do. I'm not claiming to know.
I don't know what you Mormons do out there.
Hey,
thanks for listening,
Jeremiah.
Mormons.
I fucks with you, my nigga.
To all our Mormon listeners out there, the Mormon listener out there,
we fucks with you. We fucks with you. But if I was a conservative, right, it'd be hard for me to go to conservative day camp or whatever. If I'm in a public school, I'm gonna have to run into liberal ideas.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to. What is it? Just, I mean, kind of be adaptive to the situation. Yeah. Be able to change your ideas on the fly. Yeah. I guess. Speaking
of, let me hit on a point really quick before we go back to what we were originally talking about. Actually, it turns out so if, I don't know, through your daily goings about, it seems that conservatives are easier to talk to than liberals. That's because conservatives, because of the way the school system is set up, if you're a conservative, you're one amongst many. Mm-hmm. Schools and institutions skew liberal by a large margin. So if you're conservative in these settings, you're constantly, for a long time, especially in college, having your views challenged all of the time.
Oh, yeah.
So you're constantly thinking of how to combat this, and you're very privy to the other side of the argument, where if you're a liberal, you are just in a bubble, man. You in college,
it's mostly liberal for sure.
You're not hearing conservative views at all.
They're called liberal arts colleges.
Exactly. You're not hearing any. So which is why you can talk to a conservative.
Conservative arts colleges.
That'd be great to.
This is art. Out. Fuck your art. That's not art. I don't know if that's conservative. I just thought that's like.
It sounded conservative.
I just thought about nah, that ain't art.
Hey, but now, okay. So let's get back to kids, social media, and growing up today. So what do you think is the solution, right? Because I think if we were to say something as simplistic as get your kids off of social media, that's obviously far too oversimplified
Yeah.
and something that doesn't really seem feasible.
I don't
What
know.
would you say
I mean,
is
Facebook in general has kind of lost its charm for a lot of people over
yeah,
the last couple of years. So I don't even think. I mean, I have no fucking idea because I'm not on there anymore. But I don't think that's kind of the way that most young people are going now. It's more Instagram and Twitter.
Snapchat and shit?
Yeah, and it's just it's instant gratification. There's just got to be more of a discussion with your kids about patience
Hmm.
and the fact that who gives a fuck what these other kids think. That self awareness, as you were talking earlier, like you have to be conscious of who you are and trying to develop yourself. And I mean, when you're a kid, you don't necessarily have that, so it's up to your parents to try to instill that in you. And I'm sure it's very difficult with this social media. So it's, I mean, like you said, there's not, you can't really hope that kids are going to get off of it, but you'd hope that somehow it curtails itself
Hmm.
in the coming years because people get tired of how it's operating currently.
I would hope. I would hope. But I mean, even Jonathan Haidt spoke to this. That studies show when you hold out on social media and expose your children to it once they've reached high school, the psychological impact it has on them, they can deal with it.
Yeah,
It's if you expose your kids to
middle school or earlier.
middle school or earlier, if you
Yeah.
if they're exposed to social media, then that's when it has a significant impact. So maybe it is. I guess, I mean, which it has
I had
always been.
MySpace, but that had to be in high school, I think.
Yeah, I mean, middle school. I don't even think middle. It
But
was
I don't
out when
even
you were in
know.
middle school.
I don't even know what MySpace is anymore. Like, what was that?
It was just music platform for the most part.
No, there was other shit on your page, but like, yeah, 'cause
Top five friends and shit.
I remember having quotes and stuff on there that I liked. I
Yeah.
don't really know.
Yeah. But no, I mean, but like going back to the point, it's like, so I think the solution, which it has always been, right, is it comes down to parents. Is you got to be cognizant of the impact this shit is having on kids.
For sure.
It is like, I'm not trying to put like undue blame on fuck that. Yes, parents, be more responsible
Yeah.
of what your kids are taking in, and if you whatever Nazi approach you got to take to keep your kids off of the internet and social media, do it. Don't let your kids be like, especially young boys, be exposed to pornography before teach them about sex. I don't care how hard that conversation is.
I had that conversation with my dad.
I
That
did
shit
too.
was so awkward.
It was
as
awkward, but I
fuck.
I am so appreciative. I had it with my dad and not a computer, bro.
It's weird because I remember. I think he there was- just like probably porn used to go around on VHSs back in the day, like
Mhm.
people passing around. People, I swear, parents were passing around to like talk to your kids about
Yeah.
sex, about the birds and the
Yeah.
bees.
Oh, I imagine.
And I swear it was the same one they used when
Yeah.
I got to middle school. But my dad threw that shit in early. It was
Yeah.
like sixth grade
Yeah.
or something. I was like, or maybe before that. I
Yeah.
don't remember. But it was just like, damn, what is he
Yeah.
talking about? But at the same time, I had friends whose dads had like Playboys and shit,
Mhm.
and it was just like, oh shit, let's go out to
Yeah.
let's go. Oh, where are they? They're hidden in the garage. Let's go find them. And then like his dad would come out and we'd like put them away. Like, oh, nothing. We're not. Well, we're just, I don't know. We're just playing with the tools.
Four dudes
Yeah,
chilling.
yeah, exactly. But it was just like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I've never seen something like
Yeah,
this before.
yeah.
So it was less accessible back then,
Mhm.
porn obviously, but yeah. Oh my god, I actually never thought about that. Like a fucking kid that's just coming into his own. Like,
And
I
you
mean,
have the internet and
we had the internet.
Pornhub.
We had the internet.
Ooh,
We had
that's
the
a
internet,
lot,
but
man.
we didn't have like it is today. Like
Dude,
we just had like
You
some,
had still images. Still.
and yeah.
When
and
I was like, when
I
I
feel
saw
like there was a lot of fake ones out there. Like that was a huge thing. when we were-
cartoons and shit like that, like, dude, that's what I was doing. And it's like, yeah, like I had that conversation with my dad quite early, but what it did at first, like the first conversation was a shock to the system.
Oh yeah.
But because my dad worked for the International Vaccine Institute and a lot of his job was breaking down these hard topics about like drinking clean water
Oh,
and
so it's
stuff like
easy
that.
for him to
So
talk to you.
he already had been thinking about the best way to relate this type of information to kids for a long time. So by the time he explained it to us, me and my brother were like, oh, okay. Like there was no birds and the bees talk. It was so matter of fact, but in a way kids could understand it. And he kept having these conversations with us to the point where for me and my brother, it was normalized.
Yeah.
We still wanted to have sex and we still wanted girls and we still like fantasized about it, but it wasn't to this, it was to us, it wasn't this sacred, untouchable topic in our family.
Yeah.
We could ask questions and our parents would just answer them.
See, my dad just had no shame, and that's why he was able to get the point across to me.
Yeah.
He just is very he doesn't, outside forces don't affect him. Like he just like, it doesn't matter what he says, he won't be embarrassed by it. So that's why he was able to explain to my brother and I, the birds and the bees and that shit.
And I think I'm better for it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, I got the same or a better education from my father before I went even and got I forget, was it 6th grade or 8th grade that they show you that video? I don't even remember.
I think it's like 8th.
And it's just like, here's what a fucking, oh God. Here's what a
6-year-old woman's titty looks like.
No.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't feel like that was all there, but there was definitely like, here's what chlamydia looks like. And you're like, oh man, oh fuck, I don't like sex. Sex isn't cool anymore. And then we're like 30 minutes later, you're like, you got a burner in class, and you're like, fuck,
I gotta get chlamydia.
God damn it. It's terrible.
Chlamydia, I'm getting you tonight, goddamn.
Right.
Dude, there's nothing.
That's the reason they show it to you in that grade. It's like,
of course,
they're all about to be fucking for a lot of years. And then college.
Let me try to scare the shit out of you before you start.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really what it is. It's like scared straight. It's like the drug campaign.
Yeah.
It's like scared straight. It'll work.
What
they always, abstinence is the best prevention. It's like, yeah, of course. It's like, all right, come on, that's a loophole, man. That's a paradox for what we were reading earlier. This is a fucking paradox. You can't tell me that the best way to prevent STDs is not have sex. It's like, no fucking shit, man. I got that in my head well before middle school. It's like, yeah, that's how you don't get them. Yeah,
right. And we all see what happens when men can't sleep with women. They go fucking nuts, man.
We talked about that, I think. The incels.
Dude, they just go. They're
running over. I feel like so many of them run people over with vans on sidewalks. Why horrific. Is that? That's like they pick that specific one to do. It seems like a lot of that happened last year.
It's weird, and all because I'm this is how
that and other ideologies play into that.
This is how before we could go to religion, which I think this is a topic I've wanted to touch on for a while now. It's how a conversation similar to this is how Jordan Peterson touched on enforced monogamy. And when he was quoted, they took him out of context and implied that what he was trying to say is that all of these incels, we should force women to sleep with them. But but that's not even close to what he was saying.
I was going to say, that doesn't sound like him.
Jordan Peterson would never, but of course, a woman with a motive.
What was he trying to say?
So what he was trying to say is we as a culture have this ideal called enforced monogamy, and it's a social contract.
It is,
which basically states that for everybody's sexual accomplishments are maximized if we operate with enforced monogamy. And what's enforced monogamy?
Yep.
That we will as a society agree that monogamy is the right way to go. We will not, because some societies have enforced polyamory where that's an acceptable method.
Yeah, what's that religion? Mormons? Is that Mormons?
Is that more? I think that's Mormons, right?
Yeah, it might be. Fuck it, we're saying Mormons.
Okay, fucking Mormons.
We're going with Mormons.
Y'all do a lot of fucking. Again, shout out Mormons.
Final answer. Mormons.
Jeremiah, you my guy. So enforced monogamy, and so here's enforced monogamy at play.
Yeah.
If you went out and cheated on your girl or your wife, and you successfully and were never caught, and you come back to me and you're like, yo, I cheated on my wife and never got caught. Yeah. And I would look at you and say, bro, you're fucking stupid. Don't ruin something good. Stay faithful. That is enforced monogamy.
Yeah.
That is how we do it on a societal basis where we encourage monogamy.
Well,
and it's to the benefit of both men and women.
You would also have those friends that would be like, good man, don't get caught.
But that's of course. But that's not the norm. For the most part, sure. Like as if you were a father and your son married a beautiful woman, had a beautiful child, had this great home, and he came home, he's like, Dad, yo, I just took 3 down. She ain't never gonna find out. I'd smack my kid upside the head. Like,
Yeah.
bruh, you better turn that shit around and be faithful to that woman. That's enforced monogamy.
It is, yeah. I mean, that's definitely something in our society today for sure. It's and that's why you see anyone that's comes out and says they're in an open relationship with their significant other. People are like, oh, whoa, what?
Because
what?
we believe
What
in
the fuck?
enforced monogamy.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no. I believe there's. Is it there? All right, I'm not gonna. Nope. Not gonna just not.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just not. Just fact that's not a fact.
Okay.
But how many monogamous? There we go. How many monogamous animals are there? Of the roughly 5,000 species of mammals, only 3 to 5% are known to form lifelong pair bonds.
Yeah, which makes sense.
We are mammals.
Yep.
And I guess we're part of that 3 to 5%, at least some of us. But
I mean,
the select group include. Okay, so here we go. Humans, beavers, otters, wolves, and bats.
And foxes.
And a few hoofed animals.
I know a few hoofed
God
animals.
damn it.
I mean, know
wolves,
what I mean, brother.
wolves are cool.
if you feel me.
Yeah, I do. There's been a few otters out there for me as well.
That's why I quit drinking.
Yeah,
Fucking with these hoofed animals.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy though. It's something we've enforced, but obviously other mammals, they don't necessarily have like a consciousness like we do. I mean, they have somewhat of one, but
of course,
not like they don't form these communities just like we do and have, complex lives. It's more,
some of them do.
Yeah,
Some
but
of them do.
most of it's just instinct. It's
Very
sex, eating, and killing.
Yes,
really.
yes,
That's hunting
and throwing some sleep in between.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sleep is necessary for sure.
Yeah.
For some of them, I don't know how the rest. How do underwater animals sleep? Let's not get into that.
Let's not go on that tangent.
But I mean, yeah. For in terms of, it is odd because most of mammals, other than us, are not monogamous. Yeah. They're out there just
getting it
where really, because the instinct of a mammal or maybe any living thing is to just of a male is to spread their seed, to reproduce. So, I mean, but at the same time, maybe in our society, monogamy is the best way to reproduce.
And I think, I agree.
And maybe that's why it's more enforced, because people found that, yes, you can have multiple partners and you can have multiple babies, but that shit is going to be hard to keep up with. It's hard for anybody to keep up with one fucking kid.
Yep.
And you may be hearing some fucking sirens in our goddamn headphones because I'm hearing that shit.
We from the streets.
God, these mics are sensitive.
We from the resting
that
streets.
That shit might be out in my neighborhood because that happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
Can't wait to move to Richmond.
Where can I move to a hooded place? Yo, and so part of that concept, like you said, I think we have found it in our strategic best interest, especially since the agricultural revolution, and we can get into that. But I think strategically we found it in our best interest for enforced monogamy, because what happens, especially with the invention of the agriculture and these large farms, so resources pile up to certain individuals, right?
Okay.
So what happens is, if there was no concept of enforced monogamy, right, LeBron would have all the women. Right? So
yes.
LeBron would have his pick of the litter. And that is not conducive to the other millions of men out there, because only one man wins. And then on the women's side of things, you don't get a committed man.
Yep.
You have to deal with the fact that, yes, I may get to sleep with LeBron, but so will all of these other women.
Yeah.
The enforced monogamy is the reason that somebody like LeBron James has been with the same woman since high school, when in all actuality, LeBron James could sleep with a large segment of the population.
Are you saying he doesn't have enough money to be secretive enough to cheat on his wife?
Oh, I am.
I'm just
but
curious
it's,
if
but,
you were saying that.
If I had to put, if you told me to make a bet, I'm putting 90% of my shit on the fact that he slept with other women. There've already been stories about him sliding in
any
women's
musician,
DMs.
any athlete, just if you travel a country for a living,
I think.
You know what? Let me not just
I mean,
let me not put all
think,
those people out there.
no. I mean, think about it. This is how I like to think about it from a man's point of view, and hopefully, when women are like, why do all men get money and cheat on their women when their women have stuck with them from day one and blah blah blah. Let me put it in these terms, and hopefully you can see that I'm not making an excuse for men. Hopefully you can see the transition that leads to this. So as a man, you go until you have a significant amount of money and fame. You go most of your life working for every woman you sleep with. You have to put in concerted effort for especially for the women you want to sleep with. We're not talking about the hooved animals. We're talking about the women that you actually want to sleep with. You have to put in a significant amount of effort. And then for a lot of men who come into success and fame, all of a sudden the tables are turned to an extent that no man no regular man will ever have to deal with in their life. Like a guy working at fucking Home Depot doesn't have to turn down 6 foot blonde Scandinavian women over some fucking lumber.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
never happens, right?
No.
Ever. Every woman that man from Home Depot sleeps with, he's going to have to put in 1,010%. And then say this man hits the lottery. All of a sudden, this man who had to do so much work to get a woman to sleep with him now has women more attractive than anything he's ever dreamed of throwing themselves at him. And then we say to men, oh, just control yourself. When have we been taught how to deal with that? Women have been taught from day one, from the moment a woman hits puberty, and unfortunately even before that, men are sexually soliciting them all the time. My girl probably turns down dick at an average of 500 times a day. A day, bro. So they are equipped to deal with the onslaught of
they
men
gotta
wanting
deal with shit that we don't ever have to deal with.
because
that we cause as well.
this is what a regular woman and a famous woman have in common, that a bunch of men want to sleep with them all the time.
Yeah.
So when whatever level you get on, you're like, oh, the difference between 1,000 men wanting to sleep with me and 10,000 men wanting to sleep with me, I can't really tell the difference. A bunch of dudes want to fuck me, where we never have to deal with that prior to that happening. So just so women understand, I'm not making an excuse for men, but understand that it's uncharted territories, and we're not taught the proper skills, and we're not equipped with the proper tools in order to deal with that if that were to happen.
Well, the whole forced monogamy thing I think another good thing about it is also it drives competition. I mean, it really does. If there was not that forced monogamy, as you said, the people at
Enforced, not forced, enforced.
Enforced.
Yeah. Because when you say forced monogamy, it gives
that sounds bad. You're right. Yeah, enforced monogamy.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, the top of the food chain, so to speak, in terms of men, would be the only people with women if there wasn't that. So it's good, really. It gives people that aren't physically superior the motivation to become mentally superior, or to improve their physical stature, or to improve their monetary stature, their status in society. So it's a necessary, I wouldn't say necessary evil, but it's almost necessary for the type of society we have today, at least in the United States. I mean, it might work in other places, but here that's kind of what works.
Yeah. It gives,
at least it doesn't have to be everyone,
mm-hmm.
but I think it kind of has to be a majority of people acting like that. It really does, for it to work.
Yeah, it has to be like that, so regular guys can have access to women, and women who are not extremely attractive.
Who does all the fighting, war, all that shit?
Men.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if there were even less of us getting laid, holy shit, there would be a way more of us fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be terrible. If there was, if you had, if the enforced monogamy, if that wasn't a societal kind of rule, there would be There would be way more violence, I think.
1000%.
Yeah.
If because again, it levels the playing ground to make society run a little bit more smooth, because like I alluded to a little just now, that it makes it so that the woman who doesn't look like Beyonce can get a man,
Yeah.
right? And then it makes it so that the man who doesn't look, or not, because with men looks don't matter as much. And I mean, it just is the way it is.
But are you gonna say?
It, but it makes it so that the man who's not 6'6", physically superior, and has all of the money in the world.
I was gonna say Jay-Z till you said all the money.
Okay, yes.
You said Beyonce, so it's like,
I mean,
because LeBron.
yeah,
Because you were just like physically superior. I'm like, Jay-Z's not necessarily physically superior. I've seen him on a jet ski. He's not. He doesn't look. He doesn't look necessarily athletic.
He's the Black DiCaprio of dad bods. Like, facts.
Yeah, you're right. They actually, you know what? If they could they are kind of the same. They're on the same level, really.
Of physically.
Yeah, well,
but not facially.
No. I don't know. Leo's old.
DiCaprio's I guess he's a good-looking dude.
Yeah, I guess he is.
Jay-Z is very unbecoming.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, they're in terms of like status level, they're on the same level almost, even though they're completely different. Yeah, they're in completely different things, so it's hard to compare them. But they have the same status, so the type of person that draws in is going to be close to the same.
Yes. Yeah. So you can take a white. Why did I even say white? You could take a man of any complexion or race, creed, culture, who is fat, overweight, and just gross and grotesque, and has $100 billion, right? And take Brad Pitt, and they might be able to sleep with the same caliber of women.
Oh man, I love that chart. It's the
of what men are attracted to.
No, it's is the crazy hot thing for women.
That crazy to hot scale.
Yeah, and then for men, it's the rich to attractive.
Yep.
Is it rich? Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Because these are realities of life. So I mean, and getting back to my point, it makes
people
don't
like talking about that. Though.
No,
they don't like recognizing that.
They don't like recognizing reality because it's tough to deal with sometimes.
Well, we go to the gym because of women. We make money because of women.
I mean, come on.
You guys put on makeup because of men.
Like, come on.
You wear tight shit because of men.
Come on.
It's not because of your friends. You want to look cute for your friends.
What's my favorite thing Dave Chappelle has ever said? If I could fuck a woman in a cardboard box, I wouldn't buy a house. Yeah. Come on, son. Come on, bro. Like, let's be real, son. I'm out here getting this paper for my girl. Yeah, I want her to stay with me, and she's not gonna stay with a broke nigga. Let's be real, son.
That is for real.
I mean, let's keep it all the way 100. And it's like people want you. We want to play the game, but we don't want to point out the game that's being played. And it's like that's the one fundamental rule. It's like play the game, because just don't acknowledge it.
Yeah, because it's not as fun when it's a game.
When you point it out.
Think about any game you play, like a board game. Nobody does that anymore. A card game, nobody does that anymore. Fucking video games.
Yes,
you play any of that shit, you're doing it to not to be in that world and not in your current world. Right. You're kind of escaping into that. It's your imagination. So.
And that's why when people say it's just a game, people get pissed off. Yeah. Because it's like, I know it's just a game, but that's not the fucking point.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing when someone tries to tell me, like, in a movie that it's like, oh, that couldn't happen. It's like, no fucking shit.
Duh.
I understand Lord of the Rings is not fucking real, all right? But it's cool to think about. I've never seen those, by the way. I don't know why that's the movie that came to my head. Never seen any of them.
You are fucking tripping.
None of them. It's weird.
I've watched those movies many times.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard they're good.
I'm those fantasy, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings shit. I fuck with all of that, man.
Not until Game of Thrones did I fuck with it. I used to be like, I'm no nerd. Yeah. Fucking nerds. I'm not out here liking dragons and shit. Oh, they got dragons? I like dragons. They like dinosaurs. Seriously. And now I'm fucking all into that shit.
Dude, I love that shit. But I mean, let's finish up that point before we get to religion. So to close that off, I think at the end of the day, what enforced monogamy does is it levels the playing field so that everybody feels like they have. Well, not everybody, because we've considered some people light speed ugly, and they'll never get to chance to sleep with
Light
people.
speed
I
ugly.
mean, like it's just
I like
unfortunately,
that term.
unfortunately, it is a reality of life. There is that look. There is general beauty
No, yeah,
across
that is-
all cultures. People with more symmetrical faces are found to be more attractive.
I mean,
It goes from
and
it
they
goes
also-
from African culture to European culture to Mediterranean. Everywhere across the globe, people who are more symmetrical are more attractive. That's so there are standards.
Yeah,
there are general standards of
and
beauty.
ugly people have harder lives. Yeah, that's probably
It just
yeah,
is.
are treated like shit.
It just is.
If you look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame,
Dude,
people ain't gonna be
sorry.
your friend.
Sorry.
They're
But
gonna hate you.
but getting back, so what it does is it makes it able for people who are average looking and up to feel like they have equal access to
Yeah,
playing the game.
I agree.
And when the more people you can make feel like they're involved and they have an opportunity, the less that you quell violence, you quell revolution.
Yep.
You don't have people up in arms where it's like, why would I want the establishment to crumble when I got a good girl, when I got a nice place?
The establishment can't crumble for sure.
I don't want it to crumble because
Yeah.
I like what I got.
Yeah.
And as long as a lot of people feel like they like what they got, or they have at least a chance to get what you and I have,
Yeah.
then it keeps everything calm.
Yeah.
So
I
you
guess-
don't
Yeah.
you don't
I never
want it,
thought about it that way.
you don't want it where Beyonce gets all the men or LeBron gets all the women. You don't want that
No.
because society will crumble.
Yeah. All
You
right.
want it
I
to
agree.
you want to spread the wealth.
Yeah.
You know? So I know you wanted to get into this whole
Yeah, sure.
religion thing.
We can touch on it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess the best way to start it off is, did you grow up going to church?
Absolutely.
Did you grow up as I'm assuming Christian?
Yep.
Was there like
Seventh Day Adventist. We went to church on Saturday.
Oh, I don't even know what?
Mhm.
I don't even know what that is.
Mhm.
What is that? Go
Seventh
ahead.
Day. So
I don't
Seventh
know.
Day Adventist is pretty much. I mean, it's just like regular Christians. There are
Except churches on Saturday.
except churches on Saturday. So it was lame in that aspect. But we
I
got to
don't
watch
know.
football.
Man, I like my
We
Sundays.
always got to watch football.
I hated that. I
Yeah.
had to go to church and then school.
I think
It's
my
like,
dad did it on
what
purpose.
The fuck? Oh yeah, dude, that's a. If
That's
you're
genius.
like, I gotta be religious, I might as well go to church on Saturdays. Was it also like Saturday afternoon? It wasn't something. No.
Did we go on Saturday afternoon?
No, I'm just asking. Like,
Oh.
was it also like a good time of the day? You don't have to wake up early for this shit.
No, dude. But yeah, Seventh Day Adventist is a lot of the same things. I mean, you go to church on Saturday. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I remember a lot.
That's
but
the weird thing.
little stricter and stuff.
Within Christianity, you have some shit I didn't even know about.
Mhm.
Seventh Day Adventist,
Mhm.
is that what you said?
Mhm.
Methodist, Baptist,
Mhm.
Catholic, fucking Jehovah's Witness. I don't even know if that's a separate Christian one, but
I think that's under the.
Pentecostal.
Mhm.
Fucking I don't. There's a bunch of them. There's a ton of the Christian ones at least, and then you have obviously Judaism, fucking Islam, Hinduism, Buddhist. I mean, it's all over the place.
I mean,
I was
Mormon.
I went to a Methodist church growing up. I don't know the difference whatsoever. It's kind of crazy that they all have somewhat of the same origin stories. Not sure if most people know that, but it's just weird that different areas of the world kind of chose to have different aspects. I mean, that's not odd, I guess, but each area of the world has kind of their own aspects to their religion and the religion that is central to that area. It's just odd to me that there's so many different ones and all of them think the other ones are wrong.
yeah, that's an interesting aspect of it for something that claims to be as inviting and as understanding and accepting as religion. It perplexes me that a big part of participating in a religion is denying the others.
Yeah,
That is a key concept
Oh, yeah.
of every religion,
Yeah.
is that once you pick this one, all those other ones you were considering before, bullshit.
It's the same thing as like in any type of sports team.
Yeah,
You gotta be, if you're not 100% in on your team. What if there was a popular religion at the time? Are you bandwagon religion? Are you like, if you're winning right now, if like Scientology's out there winning, Are you and you join Scientology? Are you a bandwagon religious person?
Wouldn't you be?
Are
Because
you
a
just
lot.
hopping? You hopping religions?
Because isn't there like an incentive to? Because typically with religion, death is involved a lot.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if there's a popular religion at the time, it is in your best interest to be like, oh, hey, y'all talking that Islam train? Oh, all right. let me. Hey, y'all got one more? Y'all got, let me hop on that joint with you. Oh, they beheading niggas. Oh yeah, nah, I'm Muslim today. I'm Muslim today, bro.
Yeah. Oh,
I keep my head if I'm Muslim. I'm
that
Muslim.
is see that's the thing. I know that in the hey, back to kids and religion, but the school shooting in Columbine years ago, I know those two kids were asking people whether they were religious or not, like whether they're Christian or not, and if they were killing them.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, there's a story of a girl that I'm pretty sure she was killed, but that another one of her classmates kind of told the story that she was, proud to say that she was a Christian and receive whatever happened to her. But it's like,
Man.
as you said, in those situations, I mean, I'm not religious now.
Yeah.
I was when I was a kid, I guess, based on, what my parents told me to be.
Because my parents did it.
Yeah, but I don't think ever, and this happens in movies a lot, there's not necessarily a belief that I hold that I'm dying for.
Me either. Because
Like,
my belief is life.
I will die for people that I know.
Agreed.
Maybe people I don't know as well. For in certain situations, but there is not an idea I hold so dear to myself that I'm fucking dying over that.
I think I have one.
Go ahead.
Free speech. I think I would die for that.
Okay, all right.
I think I would die for it.
I don't think that's my idea though.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a law in our country, but I don't think that's something, because it's already one.
Uh-huh.
I don't think it's something I hold that dear.
Ooh, I do.
Because I mean, as a white male, I've never had a fucking problem being able to say what's on my mind, because there's
As
not
a black male, I haven't either.
there's not
honestly.
many. I mean, there's not many consequences to most of it until today.
Mm-hmm.
There people get upset about certain things, but it's I don't know. There's that. Yes, I mean, I could see that. Yes, there's ideals like that, but because there's already laws for them, I don't see myself being like, if someone were to, a terrorist situation or a fucking school shooting, whatever, if someone were to say, are you such and such? And it's like, what do you want me to say, man? Whatever you don't like, that's what I'm not. I'm on your side.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
It's just like, yeah, I'm pro. I don't want to say I'm pro-life because I'm not. I'm pro-choice for sure.
Trying to say what you
But
think I'm trying to say like that.
But I'm
pro my life.
Yeah, like I want to live. I don't want to die ever. So I'm never gonna be like, yeah, God is good all the time, and I will die for that. That's not happening.
Me either. And I also get both sides of it, of people
wanting something that dear to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I
do.
Die? You would die for that?
I do get
like,
that. Yep.
Wow,
I just don't have it.
The fact that you, I don't have that either.
Yeah.
The fact that you have that conviction about an idea,
you can
admire that.
Yep, I was gonna say it's very admirable.
When people say a lot of
fuck, your whole life is about that.
Word.
Yeah.
Like, people say a lot of things about those.
We're generalists. That's what I said. We're generalists.
That's it.
Yeah.
Those people talk a lot of shit about these terrorists that blow themselves up, and I am not advocating for that as well.
You gotta put your whole being into that.
Yeah, everything.
Like, you have to believe that you are getting 72 virgins.
Yep,
Is that?
Yep,
Yeah, 72 virgins.
It's a lot of fucking.
When you. All right, hold on. Let's revisit that. No man in their right mind. All right. So wait a second. Maybe they're virgins. The people blow themselves up, but no man in their right mind wants to have sex with one,
virgins.
let alone 72 different virgins. You gotta teach 72 different women how to have sex.
That's hours,
dude.
Just one. No.
Hours.
The coaxing.
All right, there's 24 hours in a day.
Oh,
Days.
that's the yeah.
Weeks.
Like I said, a lot of fucking.
Also, you have eternity, so I
Yeah.
guess it doesn't matter. I guess that's what they're thinking. It's like, you teach them. You teach them. All right, we're not condoning any of the shit they're doing by any means.
We're talking shit. We're talking shit. Okay, but no, like yeah, I understand that sentiment. Again, I'm not trying to condone. I do not condone the actions that these terrorists
No,
do. I'm not
of
saying
course not.
that I support them going up and blowing themselves up in crowded places and killing other people. If you want to kill
But the
yourself,
fact that
fine.
they can get their mind around one idea,
The fact that you are so sure of this thing that you are willing to blow yourself up.
oh my god,
That is in
when
that's
literally
wild to me.
no one ever has come back and said, yeah, man, it's gonna be good.
These 72 bitches.
It's gonna be the best. What if there was like an Instagram from heaven, and there was, or hell, or wherever the fuck you go, and there was like, oh man, it was like a selfie. They're just like, oh man, you see all these girls? I told you, I can't even get them all in there. There's 72 of them. Told you.
That was great. That was good. That was good.
It's like, I can't believe that. That's why it's
fucking
been so
hilarious.
hard for me over my life. I think
Yeah.
it's because some of the stuff is just so outlandish.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
and I didn't find out about other religions till later on. When I was
Same.
a kid, it was only about like, wait a second, hold on. So wait, she didn't have. Dad, I thought we had that sex conversation, but you're saying she didn't have sex, but she had a kid. How did that happen?
Are you lying to me, Dad?
How did that
Which one
happen?
of y'all is lying to me?
Yeah.
And whoever it is, I'm gonna punch
Is it
him.
Jesus or you?
Yeah,
And he
motherfucker.
was it's
What's
like,
up?
You're not gonna say Jesus is lying to me. So.
Yeah, no, it's and again, like you said, I don't know whether it makes me better, worse, or indifferent. The fact that I die for my mom, I die for you, I die for my friends,
Yeah.
I die for my people I don't know.
Yeah.
I would put my life on the line for anybody in need. Anybody.
Yeah.
That's just what type of person
Agreed.
that I am, right? So the fact that I don't even like, though I admire those people for having conviction about something like that, I also have my own conviction about people.
Mm.
It's like that, like that's my belief. I believe in being selfless.
Yeah.
Live for people. Don't live for an ideal or some theory.
Be empathetic.
Just that's it.
Yeah.
Care about people, and that if you're gonna die for anything, die for love, die for stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
But blowing yourself up in the name of religion, it just scares me, and I don't want to be the one to harp on Islam, because I mean, goodness gracious, how many people are there in the world right now just shitting on Islam and Muslims? I'm not trying to pile on them.
I brought up some statistics that may or may not be true.
Mhm.
We'll get into those a little later, but it's all about religious death tolls, actually, wars and other events, and who's done the most.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that.
Yeah.
You'll see some things.
Islam ain't the winner.
I actually can't remember. We'll look, but
I'm pretty sure they're not.
it might not be. And we did. There's some interesting charts we pulled up. We just go over some of these
Yeah,
because they're
let's go.
kind of cool. But weekly worship attendance is most common where life is the shortest, and this is from a website called pewforum.org. But the actual information is seems to be from a few different sources.
Yeah. Pew Research Center is pretty reputable organization, so
Well, it shows that just in terms of the weekly worship attendance, Nigeria has the shortest life expectancy, which is, I guess, babies are expected to live to the age of 82. Or sorry, wow, what the fuck am I reading? 52, and then 89% of adults attend religious services weekly. So basically, that's saying 89% of adults are attending church on a regular basis. So it seems like there's a correlation between shorter life expectancy and people being more religious. So the less religious countries are, they tend to live longer, and I have no idea why the fuck that would be.
Or should you say it the other way around, that the shorter people expect to live, the more religious they are. The longer people expect to live, the less religious they are, instead of
Yeah.
the less religious. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got
Because
what you're
I
saying.
think it has a matter to do with, like, if somebody was holding a gun to your head right now, there's a good chance both of us would get pretty goddamn religious. Like just because it's something that we grew up on,
Yeah,
and
maybe. I don't know.
when you find yourself in a point where you have nothing else to grasp, like there's nothing that I can do on my own volition that is gonna get me outside of this situation. So you need something beyond yourself to pull you out. A lot of what people will revert to is God, because that's
Yeah.
what we grew up
Oh,
on.
I get
So
that.
you know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, I'm hopefully never gonna have that situation, but I
Yeah,
feel like I would reflect on things that I've done or happened to me, like happy things that have, like, almost. God damn, this is depressing. But I'd almost like give into it. Almost be like, all right, this is happening, so I'm gonna spend the last couple seconds thinking of things that are positive.
that's a way to go about
But
it.
it's, I don't know.
That'd be tough.
I didn't think about that till just now, so I've
That'd be
never had to
tough.
think about that situation. So
I'm just saying. I again, this is a theory, but and I'm not saying it because I'm trying to justify religion and say that there's some biological basis for it. Because I think that if you were brought up non-religious, you probably wouldn't grasp to that on your last moments. But
Yeah.
because a lot of us have grown, for those of us who have grown up in religious environments, but
Yeah.
have then later separated ourselves from them,
you might go back to it.
come extreme situations, you're just gonna latch
No,
onto
I get
that
that.
because it's a logical place for your
Yeah.
mind to go.
And a lot of people, I mean, you might be praying to God, but a lot of people see God as a more of a universal entity. You know, it could be anything. It's
Mhm.
not just God in the Bible sense, but God in the, like, the energies that are in the universe or whatever. But
Right.
you know, I'm not here to interpret that whatsoever.
Right.
But it is interesting on this chart that most of the countries are in Africa.
Yeah. That's
I
Africans are very religious.
Yeah, but I don't think that has. I mean, I don't think that has anything to fucking do with how long they live by any fucking
No.
means. No, it has to do with where the fuck they live.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
where they live has to do with how religious they are. And maybe this is more so that because they die early, they're more religious based on wondering why the fuck we're dying so early.
Yes, that's what I. Yep.
Yeah.
That's my belief.
But then
Yeah.
out here in Denmark, Netherlands, Australia, why the fuck are people living so long in Australia?
I mean, no guns.
They got all the fucking animals that'll kill you. Every one of them.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Don't they got spiders that are like
they catch
that
fish.
can run up on you?
They can,
Don't they got spiders that can carjack you?
they will mug you.
There you go. Don't
They
they got,
will ask for your wallet
Don't-
in a polite manner with
don't-
a gun in your
don't
face.
they got fucking gangsta ass motherfucking spiders, bro? Like no.
No, there is one seriously that pulls fish out of water. Like they make webs over top of water. I forget what that one's called. And they I mean it's bigger than my hand. And they catch like salmon.
See,
just wrap them bitches up and like, oh, I'm gonna have a sushi night.
every time somebody tries to make a case for God, I'm like, why the fuck would he create that?
That's what I always say.
Why?
Like, well,
Why?
spiders I don't get. Snakes I kind of get. I don't like them, but
Yeah.
I get that they eat things that. But it's like, why'd you create rats? Why'd you create rats if you needed snakes?
Why?
Why-
Ebola, Jesus. Why Ebola?
They're just like, why'd you create bears? I had to get them snakes. I had to get them snakes out of here. I don't know. It's like, why'd you create dinosaurs? I had to get them bears out of here. It's like, God damn it, God, stop.
Chill, bro.
I said, God damn it, God. Is that ever? I've used his name in vain
God damn it,
while speaking
yourself.
to him.
Yourself down.
Damn yourself before I talk to you.
Damn you even further, motherfucker. No,
Uh,
I think that's interesting though that, and even in America, I would assume that it translates here that the black community is more religious than other communities as a whole,
Okay.
and it probably has to do with something to the extent. Let's check that. Are black American communities more religious in general than others?
Oh, look, Pew Form.
Yeah, right back.
Pew Form, back at it. Oh,
Racial
this
and
is,
ethnic.
whoa.
Oh, I think
I
that's
got some interactive graphs and tables here.
this is sheesh. That's
Oh, it's each religion and who What race is?
Compromises the most of it
Whoa, y'all are not Buddhists
at all,
or Catholic.
or Hindu.
Why? Really? There's not a lot of black Catholics?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I don't.
that sounds like a slur.
When there's
Black Catholic. I don't know why that just sounds like a slur.
black ass Catholic. That
Wow.
does sound like a slur. That's weird.
Evangelical Protestant. That's one we forgot.
Okay, yeah. And then historically black Protestant. I don't know what the historically black means about a Protestant.
Well, I would just say that the churches are probably
Historical
segregated in
yeah,
some way.
okay,
I mean,
there you go.
You got black churches and white churches.
There you go.
Well, I mean that is the case, you know.
Yeah.
And black churches seem to have more fun. I've only been to a black church maybe 2-3 times in my life.
Facts, bro.
But I always hated church on the white side. So.
Man, look, I remember
it was very boring.
I went to college prep school and we had to go to church. I think
No
3
beats.
times a week, bro.
Sorry. The choir had no beats.
Bro, it just looked like a demonic worship. Then,
It was so boring. I always
I'm
fell
like,
asleep. My
bruh.
mom would get pissed at me. It's just like, what am I supposed to be looking at?
And on the 7th day,
It's like I can't draw in this book. Why they give me pencils in this shit? Why are there pencils everywhere? So you could write the donation on the
Yeah,
card
yeah,
and shit.
yeah.
It's like, wait, why do they get all our money? I don't understand any of this.
yeah, dude. Man. I mean, church. Actually, we had a pretty good preacher. He was pretty lively. Church wasn't. I wasn't old enough to appreciate it, but it was pretty entertaining. But I'd like to see the on as a whole.
I'm wondering where the sample size came from. If it's just United States. Oh yeah, it is United States.
Yeah.
Sample size and margin of error vary from subgroup to subgroup, from year to year, and from state to state. So it must be, if it's saying state to state, it's got to be. Oh, here we go. This is easier.
Okay.
So, yeah. Wow. So, I mean, black people kind of, I mean, I don't want to corner y'all into a category, but it looks like you got historically black Protestant.
Jehovah's Witness.
Holy shit, there's a lot of
Muslims.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
And then Muslim.
Yep.
And then white people just are everywhere.
Just all over the place.
But there's so many types of Christian. What is mainline Protestant? I'm gonna have to look up what the differences is later on with these. And then you got mostly Catholic for Latino, and mostly Buddhist, Hindu, and a little sprinkling in of Muslim for Asians.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, this is straight up just belief in God. Damn, Pewform is the shit.
Yeah,
I
man.
like this website.
See,
I've never been.
And there it goes. There goes my believe in God. Absolutely certain. 83% black compared to 61% white, compared to 44% Asian, compared to 59% Latino.
Wait, I'm so confused how
and
this chart
compared
works.
to 67. So look, so those lines. Those large lines are the people who absolutely believe in God. There goes the table
I
of
see.
contents
Oh
right
wow,
there.
83%.
So,
Right,
like I said, black people are the most religious group
for sure.
in America. So, and it translates even in Africa. Africa as a continent is the most religious continent. So it appears to be black people on the whole are the most religious race. It looks like,
yeah.
And I wonder why, man. I wonder what that has to do with anything.
By like a whole 22%. Or
Yeah.
sorry, other mixed. Thank you for the
Other mixed is 66%.
the other mixed category.
Yeah, so it's like the closest one is about 18% away. I mean 17% away. So
And Asian people are out here just straight up not believing in God by like 20%. Why are they so smart? I mean, I know why they're always so smart. But.
And again, look, if you go by
the Asian one is crazy because it's like divided into like you got 44% believe in God, and then it's like a bunch of different categories for them. There's a shit ton.
Believe in God but fairly certain, believe in God not too at all certain, believe in God don't know, do not believe in God, and other don't know if they believe in God. But I mean, again, that's this graph still supports what I already kind of knew just by existing in the world.
Well, here's another one. This is scroll back up. This is the importance of religion in one's life by race and ethnicity.
And again, blacks
75%.
long shot.
Yeah, and then Latino at 59 and white people at 49.
Yep.
That's
Black people just tend to be more religious. I do not know why.
I mean, the sense of community, the tribe mentality,
Yeah,
as we've read in Sebastian Junger's
yeah,
book. I
and
mean, it's the closeness of being in that tight knit community,
but I mean,
maybe.
everybody wants that. Why are they all not in as large a right? Why is it so large for black people? And I
I
think
don't
would
know.
it even relate to the other chart that we looked at in terms of the people the life expectancy and
Yeah,
how much you believe in God?
weekly worship
Right.
attendance versus with life expectancy.
Right. So do you think that kind of correlates to how religious black people are here in America in terms of the fact that black people were slaves and then they met a lot of hardships.
Yeah,
So when you're put in that dire of straits
yeah,
that
and that
you tend
therefore more families were
yeah,
religious,
yeah.
and I mean a lot of people that came here. I mean, obviously, all the people that came here when they've, when who the fuck are they? People from England, Britons. Well, like when they first came over here to settle, it was all white people,
Mm-hmm.
and they were kind of escaping religious persecution.
Mm-hmm.
So probably a lot of them didn't end up being religious, so that was passed down as well. So I mean,
That's a
we
good
could look
point.
that up, but that would be very granular.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do think that slavery could have played a part in black people in the United States at least
Mm-hmm.
being more religious than other groups.
I couldn't agree more. And the fact that it was also used as a tool to enslave people. They
Oh, for sure. I
right
mean, yeah, you as long as you quote God, it's
that's all you need.
yeah,
So they stripped Africans of their religion.
frequency of prayer here,
A frequency of prayer. Oh, again,
73%.
blacks at 73%. Wow. And then the closest one is what, 61%?
Yeah,
Yep.
that one's a little closer, but scripture study, religious education, still
Black people again. Just every way, it looks like every way you cut
frequency of
it.
meditation by race.
Oh, black people
Interesting.
meditate the most of as well, huh?
Interesting.
I did
You
not
got
expect that.
Latinos right behind you
Yeah.
guys, and Asian people just fucking hate meditating, which is weird because they tend to be in the religions that I think the most about
When you
meditating,
think
like
of meditating, yeah.
Buddhists and
Mm-hmm.
Hindus.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would think that they would be the most meditative group, but maybe not.
Agreed.
Frequency of feeling spiritual peace and well-being by race. So black people are feeling spiritual and peace,
Yeah.
spiritual peace and well-being.
69%, closest one 65%.
That's just how you feel closeness to God type
Yeah.
thing, I guess. Feeling
Feelings of
wonder about the universe. Okay, this is just
This is a
all
good
over
one.
the
I like
fucking
that.
place. Percentage of adults who feel a sense of wonder about the universe. So 45% of white people feel a sense of wonder about the universe at least once a week, and also 45% of black people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, apparently, Latinos and other races think about the universe way more than once a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Several times a year, seldom, never, and don't know. So, who are these seldom, never people that are taking up huge chunks saying that 20% of each race seldom or never wonders about the universe?
wow.
What are y'all doing? They are letting the God take over, I guess. I don't know.
That is
Sources of guidance on right and wrong by race ethnicity. Percentage of adults who say they look to most for guidance on right and wrong. I guess religion is
yeah.
what they're talking about.
Yep.
So
Oh no. They're what it's saying what they look to as a source for guidance on right and wrong. So for black people, they turn to religion.
yeah, I wasn't even looking at that.
Most they turn 43% of them turn to religion for a sense of guidance, and actually an equal
It's equal.
43% turn to science.
And common. No, that's common sense.
Oh, Oh, okay, yeah, that's a little bit lighter blue. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
common sense.
Well, I mean, science, yeah, probably only comes into mostly scientists' fucking lives.
Yeah,
so
True.
they're like, we don't know a lot of facts. That's the going back to what we said
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
It's like that's how many facts people know.
Yeah.
All right, so if you take that and say that's how many facts people know, so you got 8% white, 5% black, 13% Latino. Asians are up there with 17%,
yeah.
just out here leading the way in facts. They got all
Is that
the
surprising
facts. No,
Is that surprising though?
no, they're so much smarter. You know, it's just something side note that they brought up on Rogan's podcast recently was positive stereotypes. How people say they're racist. Like when you think about it, it's just like, nah, they're not. Like,
Wait, which ones?
like any positive
Oh, like
stereotype.
Asian people are smart.
Yeah, it's like
Like that's not right. Is that
how are
racist?
you? How is that offensive
That's
at all?
that's actually pretty dope.
Yeah,
I've never met a dumb Asian. Just
like
saying.
it's not. You can't. I think the thing Rogan used was big dicks with black guys. Yeah,
Ah.
it was just like, yeah, no one's gonna turn that down. It's only the guy with the small dick that's gonna be
That's
pissed
gonna be
about that.
upset. Like,
Yeah,
come on.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's weird that we have that in the society.
Yeah. So I mean, going back to that, I wonder. Do you think that there's still a place for religion in our society? Because I think people, if you don't believe in something, if you think you don't believe in something, I think that leaves room for something to creep into that place
Yeah.
and you not be fully aware of it.
I agree. I mean,
Right.
I've always said throughout my life that I think religion is a necessary thing for people. I mean, a lot of people need it. A
Mhm.
lot of people need it. I am not one of those people, but I see the good
Yeah.
that it does. But there's such a give and take because there's so much bad that goes along with it too,
Yeah.
and that never really gets touched on. I mean, earlier we said we weren't going to mention this, but I mean, just with the Catholic religion and molestation of kids,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
that shit still fucking happens. And they had a Oscar nominated movie about this shit, and it still fucking happens.
And people are still sending.
And
the
they're
kids
just
there.
like, oh, you know what? Let's just transfer this priest to this other place. And it's like, nah, man, give that man the death penalty and they just fucking move on. Like,
Yes.
stop doing this shit
Yeah.
with these priests.
Yeah.
This shit is annoying. They're tax exempt. I don't understand that shit with religion, but why are the priests not, prosecuted for this shit? It's crazy.
In Germany, you are, unless you opt out, they take money out of your check to whatever religion you're affiliated
It's crazy.
with. So you have to literally go
Opt
down
out
to
of- yeah.
your local government or post office, whatever, and say, I am dropping out of my religion. Stop taking money out of my paycheck to the Catholic Church or whatever religion you're affiliated with.
Yeah.
All over the world, religion has this tremendous hold on us as people. And I do think that there is some type of biological evolution that has caused our insanely tightly held belief on religion. And I do think that there is a place for it because
Okay.
I am of the belief that it is good for giving the majority of people a nice moral compass. And when you strip that away from people and people don't think that they have a higher power to answer to, I think it leaves people more open to making more immoral and irrational decisions than they otherwise would.
I just thought about like it's when it's like if you find out there's not cameras somewhere.
Right. Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
and you're stealing something.
Ex-
Like that's exactly what it's like.
So imagine,
It's just like, oh shit, nobody's watching what I'm
Imagine.
doing. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want.
that's my point. Imagine if you walked into Foot Locker and you saw a sign on the door that says there are absolutely no cameras in our store.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you would steal, but the chances that you would steal kind of creep up a little
Well, a
bit.
lot of people, their morality is set by religion, but
Exactly.
I mean, there's stories that predate these religions that talk about morality.
That's
there's
true.
there's stuff from ancient Sumeria
Mhm.
that is exactly the same beginning story as from the Bible, and it's like, you
Yep.
sure you guys didn't
Like
copy
the
that?
story of Horus and Otis.
Yeah, you
and
sure you guys didn't copy that
Osiris and
shit?
stuff. Yep.
But it's yeah, there's so many things to touch on with religion. It's so hard to narrow down to,
Yeah,
to
yeah, no,
different points I want to make.
No, it's tough, but I think the religion and race thing is a very interesting one to explore.
Well, it's
just because of how lopsided it is.
yeah. I mean,
You know?
but it's not. There's so many of those different statistics as we
Mm.
can see on here. There's it's differences not in just race, but people who attend school longer.
Education.
Yeah,
There we go.
exactly. Education. People who attend school longer go to church less often.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that's by country, but I mean you can pick out race from that a little bit as well.
It still looks like almost the exact same graph.
Who
to a
lives in
certain extent.
Estonia? Is that a white place?
I don't know. It sounds pretty.
Yeah, it does. It
Yeah.
does. And then I mean there's another one down here. It's daily prayer is more common in the US than in many other wealthy countries.
That doesn't surprise me. I know when I travel to
That's
places
wild to
like
me.
Norway, Sweden, and those
Ridiculous.
when I travel to those countries, I didn't get that same sense. You know, in America, especially when you go to rural towns, and even when you're in large cities, you see churches on
Dude, there's
every
churches
block, man. Like
everywhere.
even around here, where
How much money?
we're pretty urbanized community, and there are churches, and then this 5 mile
Yeah,
radius, I
there's a
know of at
shit ton.
least like 20, right? But when I was in Norway, I didn't see churches to that extent.
Yeah.
Like you would see a few like cathedrals, but those were more things that have
Architecture,
right.
man-made
These things have been
wonders.
here for 1,000 years.
Yeah, yeah,
This is why they're still here. But
yeah.
I didn't see the pervasiveness of religion. It wasn't talked about as much. People were talking about more philosophical ideas. And here, you know how here, if you there's that famous saying that if you talk to anybody around here long enough, that it will 100% come to religion eventually. And I think that's with most people
Maybe,
anywhere.
maybe,
But I
yeah.
find that to be more so true here in
Hmm.
America, where if you talk to somebody for like 30 minutes or more, you're going to hit religion at some
Yeah,
point.
it all depends on if you want to comment on something they said. Like, well, I said my prayers about it that night.
Yeah.
Did you?
Sir, did you?
Did you? Maybe you should have gone out and done something
Who the fuck
about
was
it.
you talking to, cuz?
This says a lot about how you get more religious or less religious with
Mhm.
age. This chart up here was saying that Americans born in the 1930s worship more frequently as they reach retirement age, and that may be just because, I mean, just associated with the more rural areas,
Mhm.
like they are more religious. Like you have less shit to do in
Right.
those areas. You have less shit to do when you're retiring.
Right.
Like maybe I want a more of a community setting where other people are willing to hang out and talk, and it's like a lot of my friends like that I still talk to today, I went to church with back in the day. Like they were, my parents and their parents were friends or whatever, but it's a place to find community, find your tribe, find people with like ideas outside of the church maybe, or inside the church if you are choosing to be that religious.
Yeah. And
So
as I've spoken to before, I believe, if I'm repeating myself for our podcast listeners, I apologize. What I have found is that the more I've started looking at religion from a um, not from a religious aspect, but from the aspect of these are stories that have been handed down generation after generation, told by people trying to figure out life and trying to figure out how best to navigate through life. And once I started seeing religious um, scriptures in that context, it took away some of the ire I had towards religion of like all these stories are stupid, they're insane. What could they? When I started seeing it as okay, this is a metaphorical story. What is the true meaning
yeah, you
behind
can't take
this
it.
that I'm trying to
You
that they're
can't take it for what it
right?
is. Yeah.
What are they? What when they talk about Noah? When they talk about the guy in the whale, what are they really trying to talk about?
Exactly.
And when you go to enough uh, theology classes and you find out the context of what they were trying to convey through those stories, you're like, oh, that is a meaning about one's struggle with life and how to overcome dark and tumultuous times and being and having perseverance and being resilient. You're like, oh, okay. When I start thinking of it like that, it's like I don't have as much of a negative connotation towards religion, and I'm more willing to accept religious doctrine and see it as like, okay, what lesson are you trying to teach me? Forget the actual words that you're saying to me.
That's a good way to
What
think
are
about it for
you?
sure. I think more people, that it would be better if more people took that book as stories,
Mhm.
fables almost.
Yes.
What was that book? Aesop's Fables back
Yes.
in the day. Yeah.
Yes.
Something like that.
Mhm.
Like, was it the lion and the mouse? There was
Mhm.
some shit about
Mhm.
that. I feel like that Jonah and the whale. That's
Yeah.
the same type of shit.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
You're trying to control a population, really is what it's about. Is how can we get together and write these stories to where people will listen to what the fuck we have to say
Yeah.
and donate as much money as they can. Holy shit. If from back in the day they're still passing that shit down, like, hey, keep this con going, we got it for 2,000 years still, don't be the one to end it.
Yeah.
That'd
But
be crazy.
I truly don't think it's a con. I think truly
No, it's not.
it started off as people being like, "Hey, look, I the best way I can tell you about my experience, which has been the best way for the entirety of human history,
Hmm.
is to tell it through story.
Yeah, it
The
has
how look
for sure.
how do we teach kids? We read them bedtime stories,
Yeah,
and some of these bedtime stories, when you analyze them, have such deep meaning to
yeah,
them.
they do.
You're like, oh my
They're
god,
for
I
the parents too.
yes,
Yeah,
I never knew the Lion King had this much
yeah,
philosophical meaning in it.
yep.
But once you start analyzing it, you're like, and kids, even though they can't understand what they're grasping, because it's put in a story that's easily digestible, later on in life they find themselves making these connections and they're like, oh shit, it was because of these stories that were passed on as we were children.
I
And I
agree.
think
Yeah,
religion serves as the same purpose when it's used correctly and effectively.
yeah. I mean, there's times where it's used effectively for sure, and I mean, when you're a child, it's definitely good for helping kids realize, what they should be doing with others. What was the golden rule? It's, like
Hmm.
treat others as you would like to be treated or whatever. That was something that supposedly came from the Bible. I'm sure it didn't, but it's just it's definitely a good way for people to learn how to be nice to one another, at least in Christianity from what I learned. But let's get into the not so nice parts of it.
Let's get it.
I found a couple sources that are probably not great, but it's hard to find these religious death tolls. But
Okay.
this says that according to the FBI, only 6% of the terrorist attacks on U.S. soil between 1980 and 2005 were carried out by Muslim extremists.
That sounds about right.
So I believe most of the stuff, um, it's this says murder rate white America, like most Christian countries in the Americas, Africa and Eastern Europe, is markedly more violent than most of the Middle East.
Hmm.
But this has Christian. Sorry.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say it shows that the no go back to the FBI thing. It says only 6% of the terrorist attacks on U.S. soil between 1980 and 2005 were carried out by Muslim extremists. Even Jewish extremists carried out more at
Yeah.
7%.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
And then this
That's
lists
crazy.
off just wars, Christian wars with all these different people that died in the millions. And I mean, these go from year 535 all the way through 2003, which was the Second Congo War.
Wow.
Oh my fuck.
2.5
Okay.
million.
Yeah. So the Gothic Wars of 535 killed 5 million people
Wow.
compared to the Second Congo War that went from 98 to '03 and killed 2.5 million. And these are all wars fought over, Christian ideals or
Hmm.
religious ideals.
Hmm.
And then you have just Muslim wars, and these are the only specific ones. And there's not many,
There's not
obviously.
many at all.
Yeah.
And the largest death toll was in 1370 to 1405, which is a pretty good chunk of time, and that killed 7 million people.
It says 7 times more people have died in Christian wars, 113.8 million, compared to the 16.4 million who died in Muslim wars.
Yep.
That's fucking huge. I mean, that trumps it easily.
By a significant measure. And how do you feel? Let me get your opinion on this. How do you feel about the current political discourse concerning Islamic extremists and their Muslims in general are being vilified in the media, and people keep using the of course Christianity was bad and it killed several million people, but it's not that bad right now. How are you digesting that? Because I'm having a
I
real
would
tough
say
time with.
that our entire government is made up of Christian people, and they're constantly at war and killing people. And a lot. I mean, I just read about a drone strike like 2 weeks ago that killed mostly civilians, and it's like, all right, so you're telling me that none of those people are now going to become ISIS members or some other terrorist group members and then want revenge against us, and you're saying that Christians don't kill anyone. Like,
Mhm.
there's no Christian wars, there's no Christian death toll, there's no Christian terrorist attacks. What the fuck do you like if there's a terrorist at a wedding and you blow up the whole wedding to kill him? That's justified?
Right.
Is that not Christian death toll? is that like every single death under every single U.S. president? Wouldn't that be a Christian, a check for the Christians?
Yeah. But I guess the argument would
I mean,
be
you got to
that
swear in under a Bible when you become president, right?
that's a
And I
pretty good
mean,
point.
if you look back up at this, if you look First World War, Second World War, Korean War, Vietnam War, all those are listed as Christian wars because all the countries involved were Christian countries. And all of them have very big like correlations within their government, ties to the religious parts of their country.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why those are listed under the Christian wars section.
Okay. Because I was going to say that I guess the argument that people would push back with is that these wars were not carried out specifically with the ideal of Christianity in mind, where the terrorists are doing things in the name of Islam.
Gotcha.
Right?
I mean, hey, maybe they just they're better cheerleaders for their team.
I mean, it appears so.
I mean, that I don't want to be controversial or problematic, but that just seems like what it is. Maybe they're more
willing to own it.
That's their advertisement. Yeah. That's them trying to get people to join. It's like, look what I'm doing. This shit is crazy. Yeah. I mean, obviously they're not saying that because they're dead, but this says
you're a savage, bro. I love it. I guess I'm having a real hard time with this issue because I'm one of those people who I don't know if you saw that argument between Ben Affleck and Sam Harris on Real Time with Bill Maher, where
no, I didn't.
Yeah, well,
I didn't know they argued on there.
Well, where this is back when
did Ben Affleck lose this argument?
It depends on who you ask.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure he held his own, or it was actual like a debate.
It was nice. It was more him yelling, and this was when he was shooting the Batman movie, so he was super jacked and on steroids.
Yeah,
he was on steroids to get that big for that movie. So, I mean, come on. So he was a little aggressive, but. No, so I get Ben Affleck's side where he was, because Sam Harris said Islam was the motherlode of bad ideas. Sam Harris has since retracted and said he misspoke. It's a motherlode. It's one of the motherlode of bad ideas. He's not saying it's the worst of all ideas. So Sam Harris did his due diligence and said he misspoke. I respect that. So, but I get Ben Affleck's side, and he's criticizing Sam Harris like, why are you picking on Muslims as if they're the first people to do it? They're the worst people to do it. I don't get it. Like, why are we vilifying these people when there are billions of people who claim to be Muslims and a tiny fraction of them are the extremists?
Yeah.
And then I also get Sam Harris's side where he's like, these thoughts start somewhere. And and Sam Harris's argument is like, okay, so the average Muslim may not be willing to blow themselves up in the name of Allah, but the average Muslim is willing to stone his daughter to death if she sleeps with somebody out of wedlock.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I get both sides, and I mean, I guess that's how life and thoughts are, right? That just going and saying, okay, I believe Sam Harris would be idiotic, because I can grasp the other side. And I just think that because in today's atmosphere, it's all about picking sides, that you gotta sit somewhere, or, people think you're a coward for not
picking a side.
Yeah,
you can't sit on the fence.
Right. I can't sit here and say that both sides have legitimate arguments that I can relate to, it's nuanced. These are tough conversations that we have to have.
For sure.
How do we not vilify an entire people, an entire religion, an entire part of the world? How do we not do that while simultaneously saying, look, there are some things going on within your religion right now, and yes, we've all done it, we all have our shit, but there are some things we need to address about yours in the moment right now.
Yeah, it's the problem is that it's just kind of the same problem with our Constitution, is that it hasn't evolved over time. You're trying to use topics and solutions from fucking thousands of years ago to solve problems of today, where we have fucking the internet and Teslas.
Yeah.
Like, what? How? Like, people that are like, you're not taking my guns because Second Amendment. It's like, dude, come on. We could we could change this shit up. Like
Yeah.
we could just say you can have handguns and shotguns, but you can't have AR-15s.
That's it.
Like something like that. Like I mean, I'm not saying specifically that, but we could change some shit. These people had wooden teeth back when they wrote this goddamn piece of paper on parchment that's probably falling apart.
They had muskets.
How many copies did they make? Just one? Would they just make one back in the day? They were dumb as
They couldn't. They
fuck.
couldn't afford it. They couldn't
No,
afford to
okay.
make a second
All right.
constitution.
Yeah, dude, if they didn't copy that, if they did not have some motherfucker like, all right, make a rough copy of this right after we do it, just in case we got to write it again,
Yeah.
or somebody spills some wine on it or some shit. Because I feel like all they did was drink back then.
Oh,
and
fuck
worship
yeah, bro.
God.
If you only had wooden teeth, you'd be getting fucked up all day, too.
Although I only think a couple of our founding fathers, whatever,
yeah.
were religious. I mean, a lot of them
Yes.
were
Yeah.
non-religious and kind of warned
Yeah.
of the perils of religion.
And they made
I mean,
it very clear.
Fuck, well, yeah, we're not supposed to have church and state. Oh, you want to edit the Constitution, put that, I mean, it hadn't stopped anybody.
Nope.
You know, everything in God we trust is on our money.
Yep. And if let somebody try to run for president as an atheist.
No, it's not going to happen.
Good fucking luck.
You have
bro.
to be married,
Mm-hmm.
Christian,
Mm-hmm.
and probably have kids. If you
Yep.
don't have kids, it's weird.
It's gonna be nope.
You can't have family values if
Yep.
you don't have kids because
Yep.
you were never a kid.
Yep. You gotta
You were
be
born
straight.
a politician.
You gotta be straight. You gotta be a male.
Oh,
you gotta,
man. What if we have a gay woman
Uh-huh.
who's married to
A Muslim.
a trans man who both of them happen to practice Islam and Scientology. And we're just like, oh shit, this
The
country.
earth would explode, bro.
Come back, Trump. Please come back. We don't know what's happening. There's too many
Help.
labels.
Help.
Too many labels. I'm not saying anything would be wrong with having a lesbian president with a
No,
trans man
no, I
as
don't-
the
I don't give a
first
shit.
man
Yeah.
that we have. Oh my God, think about
The
that.
first Zer. The first Zer.
Oh my God.
my God, yo. I'm trying to tell you, it'll be crazy, bro. I mean, and this we're gonna save that topic for next time of
Okay.
the trans
All right, that's cool.
the changing the trans kids. But I mean, yeah, no, it's I think we again, it's how there seems to be a great divide between our actions and our thoughts and what we say. Is how we hold these ideals, but our biology and our thinking constantly fights against us. Of how we say we don't care who runs the country, but it better not be a goddamn woman.
Yeah,
we
or
don't-
someone that doesn't believe in the fake person in the
You know what
sky.
I'm saying? We on paper, this shit sounds good.
It's
but-
weird too because we look into. I mean, not to jump onto Trump all of a sudden at
Sure.
the end, but
Yeah.
it seems like we look at ideals that aren't necessarily the important ones. I don't necessarily think that if someone's religious or not. I mean, well, I kind of do. I mean, I think that tells a lot of who they are as a person, but they can run the country whoever they are, whatever religion they are.
Mm.
But the fact that we have to kind of make sure that they're one or the other and they got to fit into this box. I mean, it's just identity politics all over again, I guess.
That's all it comes down to.
You
man.
have to be. It's weird because Trump kind of still checks all the boxes, even though he's just loud.
He checks
and
the major boxes.
Yeah, he's just a louder, more crazy version of the people in the past.
Yes.
Like he just hasn't taken his publicist's advice.
Yep.
Basically, he's like that's what it is.
He went rogue.
Yeah, it's just been like, all right, cool, I'll do what you say.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what you're doing.
yeah.
And he's like, fuck that, I'm tweeting whatever. I
He
did
went
follow
rogue.
him. I followed him on our Twitter account too. I was like, fuck it.
He might hear our
Yeah,
shit.
right. I'm gonna tag him in a few posts. Fuck it.
Like, why not? Hey, Trump, shout us out, man. I don't support you, but if you get my shit trending, man,
I'll laugh
shit,
at you.
I might.
Yeah.
I'll talk about you more.
The government. It's what is it? January 11th,
Yeah.
2019. They may be closed for another month.
Oh,
Who the
bro.
fuck knows?
Who knows, man?
Shit's taking forever. So
I
hey, more time to do a podcast.
facts and no traffic driving into work, which
Yeah.
is a fucking
There hasn't been much, you're right.
huge benefit, man. But hopefully, my hope of having conversations like this, which I think we kind of make a point to say at least once sporadically through
Sure.
every podcast to a certain extent, is my hope is that even if it's just like one person or two people or a few people here and there that listen to our podcast and say to themselves, "Oh shit, there are people who aren't afraid to have these type of conversations and work their way through them in public and not really care about what people have to say." That there are these two guys having the same thoughts I'm having with the same feelings I'm having, and they're not afraid to express them. So hopefully one person listens to this and goes home and talks to their girlfriend, their husband, their mom, their dad, and is like, what do you think about this? Like, how do you really feel about this? And if we
Yeah,
do feel
I
differently,
hope to definitely spur those conversations for
right.
sure.
And if we do feel differently, how do we have a conversation like them? Not saying that our conversations are perfect,
Yeah,
but how do we talk in a way that we can both explore each other's mind and figure things out about each other that we otherwise may not have known?
yep.
That's all I'm trying to encourage. I just want to encourage conversation.
Discourse.
That's it. I
Yeah,
want people to
dialogue.
I want people to understand that you can talk about the toughest thing. We talk about race, religion, gender, like we talk about it all, but we're not out here trying to offend. We're literally we're curious.
We're trying to open your mind.
That's it. And
Yep.
we're trying to
Open our own
no,
minds.
exactly. We're opening our
And
own minds in
therefore
the hope.
you can see our minds open, and therefore your mind will open.
Hopefully. That's it. I'm exposing myself at like on this podcast. I tell you this all the time. This is the rawest version of myself.
Oh yeah, for sure.
When I'm coming to you to talk about these podcasts, I must stress I may write things down in general just to like,
Oh, you gotta
I
get it
need to
out.
remember this
Gotta
thing.
get it out.
But I come here off the cuff
Yeah, yeah.
just so people can
I mean-
see it's okay to misspeak. It's okay to not have your thoughts all the way figured out.
Yeah.
But by doing this is how you get there.
I agree, man. I think that's a good spot to end it on.
I agree, man.
Episode 4, I think. Yeah.
And we out.
Yeah.